Yeah.
Millions of people throughout the world tried to play that. Only a handful of them made it through 20 wins, and some of those players are here today.
Yeah, and that's part of why Japan is the host country. There was the most per capita players completing that 21 challenge here in Japan. Pono Sports, of course, the hosting team.
Fantastically skilled, and now we're going to head into our 2v2 set.
Yes! Yes, and look at this overlay, guys. This is an amazing set. You can see the cards play, the elixir played. This is absolutely fantastic. I love this new overlay.
You can see that elixir leak there in the corner.
Yes.
So you have Ponos, Mikimbuya, and Ten God top of your screen. Immortals, Ah Crap, and the God RF at the bottom. And there we go, the first golem out. No big surprises from the North Americans.
Absolutely. As we said earlier on, you see that Lava Hound ban, and you think you're going to see a P.E.K.K.A. One card we didn't see a ton of in NA is this balloon, and the reason why is your opponent has so many spells. However, that is going to get to tower. That is a hit. That is a huge hit. Wow.
And a little late on the range there, not taking full advantage of it, but still the damage is done. Down to 864 in the left-hand lane. Not how the Americans envisioned this start.
Absolutely, and there's nothing really here on the right side to stop those bats. Very much distracted that Inferno Dragon. The golem's going in. I'm shocked to see a bomb tower here, Rich.
Bomb tower, not a big part of any of our metas, but maybe they like it for the HP in this situation.
And that is going to be a very, very strong defense played by Pono Sports here, pretty much mitigating all of that damage. And you look at the bottom left side of your screen, that tower from Immortals is very weak.
Remember, there's no tornado right now. That is banned for all potential 3 games here in 2v2, so a little more freedom with that miner, although with how close that double king tower is to your princess towers, a fireball, a giant snowball could also be used to activate if it's in the right spot.
Yeah, and I think Immortals is doing the right thing here in ignoring that push and sacrificing that tower, and they really, really need to create a huge push behind this golem. However, Ponos recognized, and that was a cheap push. That was a 6 elixir push to take that tower, Rich.
You see here the roars from the Japanese home crowd here as their team takes the very first tower of CRL World Championship. This golem trying to make its way through, but Zappies and now a defensive freeze.
That was an incredible defensive freeze right when the rage came down from the Lumberjack. They froze everything in its place and pretty much stopped that push in a track. However, this does look like a lot. It is not going to be enough damage, Rich.
We are now in double elixir time, only 47 seconds left, and it is the Japanese squad Ponos out to a very significant lead, and the Dark Goblin on the left-hand side doing a ton of damage as well.
Just taking away that Dark Goblin after the recent buff is so very strong. What I think has been the most impressive about this so far is the use of the skeleton barrel as a tank, whether it's tanking for the balloon, whether it's tanking for the Dark Goblin. Pono Sports is playing out of their minds right now, and Immortals only has 22 seconds to do about 1,100 damage, Rich.
That's going to be a tall
Lumberjack.
Lumberjack getting on tower, though, with the rage. We might be able to spell cycle out and extend this thing into sudden death overtime.
And we absolutely will. Golem is on the tower. Immortals is fighting back for their lives.
Wow, my heart is already pumping, Andrew. Immortals trying to stay in this thing. We are moving into sudden death overtime. Next tower down is game 1.
And it looks like Ponos here is opting to go for the 3 crown. No, excuse me, it's just a bit of a distraction. We got, again, the balloon is being tanked for by that skelly barrel. Those skeletons drop, and you've got a couple more tanks right there.
The brilliance here.
Wow.
This could be it.
The
second drop.
That is going to be it, Rich. Fireball comes in. The freeze, very, very well played. Crap and the God RF recognizing that they just got a little bit outplayed there by the host team in Ponos.
You know, I think they might have gotten outgamed as well. Remember, Ponos looking and seeing that Lava Hound is banned, going, you're not going to expect this is going to be an aerial attack. and here they go, taking to the air using this, the skeleton barrel and balloon combination to kind of catch Immortals off guard.
Yeah, not a combination we see a lot, and you see right here that very first tower take. Very cheap as well, as we said before. 3 and 3, skeleton barrel and dart goblin, cheap, smart, and they didn't commit too much to the left-hand side there.
This was just an unbelievable bit of play. You see the celebration there from the Japanese squad, and a slight difference in building elixir spent. And with all of those balloons coming through, you know, you did have the cannon there as a distraction, but maybe it wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we talk about building and spell elixir a lot here in 2v2, Rich, and that wasn't really the deciding factor here. Like you said, I think they got outgamed and outplayed. There was so much there with that balloon.
Game number 2 on its way. Brawl Stars, the new competitive 3v3 multiplayer game from Supercell, just announced it's going live globally on December 2nd on both iOS and Android, and there is still time to pre-register to claim your special reward, Star Shelly. Pre-register at brawlstars.com. Andrew, I've had a chance to play it already, and I am already obsessed.
Oh, I cannot wait for this, and I don't know if you saw in the very top left hand of your screen, there was the very first loot drop. Guys, link your Supercell ID to the YouTube, click on that, and get rewards all throughout the stream. That was 1,000 gold right there. 1,000 gold that just passed you by. If you didn't link them, do it right now.
Also, right now, our second game of 2v2. Again, not the start Immortals was looking for. You can see a little shake of the head there from Royal, one of the best in the world. But really, the story here was the gamesmanship of Ponos, making it look like it was going to be a ground battle, and then going a little bit off meta for 2v2 when it came to the air.
And this is really where the pressure comes on, Rich. This is in front of over 1,000 people playing. That very first game loss, you got to keep Immortals in it. They've got to stay focused.
Let's get into game number 2.
2v2, game 2.
And what sort of adjustments does the North American Championship squad have available? And we are seeing a little note here from the God RF pointing to the referee doing the right thing if he's having a technical issue, raising his hand and stepping away. So the referees are coming in now. The Japanese players appear to still be playing at the moment.
Yeah, it's very, very important. If you recognize anything is not right in gameplay, to immediately step away. There were a couple issues with that in seating where people kept playing and then they talked about issues later on. You got to do it immediately. That is the way it has been since day one. Immortals doing the correct thing here. Pono Sports also doing the right thing in playing.
So now we have the referees. They're discussing the issue with the players at hand. Immortals now, I do like seeing that RF was so quick to recognize the situation and did the right thing, and a lot of that goes to coaching. And one story about Immortals here is they do not have their head coach, trainer Luis, unable to get here for a few reasons. So we're not able to be here in person, although he is communicating remotely with this squad.
Yeah, I was speaking with Shua, the team manager, and he's saying that they have to do all their communication through mobile text in between matches, I believe, or games. There's not a lot of communication. Their trainer Luis kind of being the mastermind behind Immortals. But as you said, I'm very happy that they stepped away here. They're still calm enough instead of trying to fight back for that first game loss and doing something that they didn't want and maybe look back and regretted. They decided to step away, play calm, take a second, and we're going to see what's happening here.
Again, that's all about the great coaching, right? Trainer Luis, mentioning him, he put together a squad. When you're talking about Crap, the God RF, Royal, and Oh Yeah, that people weren't picking as a North American champion when the season started. You know, they didn't know how talented Oh Yeah could be, how dangerous the 16-year-old is. Of course, we saw that in the North American finals. Yeah,
that was one of the most impressive coaching moves from Trainer Luis, was putting Oh Yeah in that big time game, and he came out on top. That is the reason that they are here today, or one of the reasons. I mean, they put in a lot of work. work throughout the season.
A lot of very hard work. Ponos as well. And, you know, taking a look at their squad, a lot of people thought Meek and Booyah would end up being the big 1v1 star, but he and Ten God have really come together as a fantastic 2v2 duo.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important to get that established 2v2 team. Now, it took them a little while. Ten God's been playing all of theirs in 15 sets here. Meek and Booyah only playing 9, but that's very important. The God RF and Immortals, the God RF and Oddcrap have played every single 2v2 set in North America other than just one, Rich, and I think that's one of the reasons they're the strongest.
Their synergy is fantastic. But I like these two squads going head-to-head because I think they're both the two most communicative teams here at CRL World Finals. Some of the other squads don't seem to speak as much verbally while they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, while we're hanging out, let's talk a little bit about that communication in the first game. What do you think happened there in that very first push from Pono Sports? Oddcrap and the God RF seem to just not play defense the way they wanted.
You know, I don't know if they had what they wanted in Cycle. We don't get to see specifically what their hands were at that moment, so there could be a big issue. Look, I think the gamesmanship of Ponos was a huge thing here. They saw that Lava Hound was out, and they said, you're probably not thinking that we're going to go with a small, fast aerial attack, and Immortals was just caught unawares.
I mean, we've talked about this a lot in the 2v2 being different in all of the regions around the world, and I don't believe we saw a Balloon Freeze deck in 2v2.
Balloon Freeze tech, yeah, I don't think we saw Balloon Freeze. We did see some Freeze play, of course.
Absolutely. Graveyard Freeze was very popular earlier in the season.
Graveyard Freeze was very, very popular, especially in 2v2. There was Golem Graveyard Freeze altogether.
Yeah, I mean, you have so much elixir between the two of you guys. You know, that expensive of a deck, something you're not ever going to see in 1v1. However, that Balloon Freeze Skeleton Barrel deck was absolutely dominant here in Game 1.
We should be getting back to the action in just a moment. And a quick correction here, Brawl Stars launches globally on December 12th, not December 2nd. A little bit longer wait for you, but let me tell you guys right now, it is 100% worth the wait.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I cannot wait to get in on that. And honestly, you know, maybe I can go pro next season in Brawl Stars.
Hey, it's all open now. It's a huge field. And look, it's a fantastic opportunity because you love Supercell games, you love playing Clash Royale. Maybe you're tilting for a little while, you go, I need a break. Well, let me switch over to a totally different but totally fun game, get some energy, some aggression out, and then come back and start pushing again.
Absolutely, and it looks like they might be resolving this issue here. Now, we have to obviously wait on the call from the referees, whether it was a legitimate issue or not. Reminder at home, if it is not a legitimate issue, if they don't see an issue with lag or sound or whatever it may be, that is a forfeited game and a forfeited set, essentially, from Immortals.
Psychologically speaking, too, this stop down is definitely, we've seen before that a pause in action can really change a player's focus and mentality.
I mean, they do it all the time in football. It's called icing the kicker, and this is not obviously on purpose, but it has the same effect a lot of the time.
So here you see the players now beginning to get just a little bit impatient, especially the way that Meek and Booyah and Ten God are playing right now. They are chomping at the bit to get to game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, that dominant performance in game number 1 is not something that they want to go away. They want to ride that high throughout the rest of this. And as we talked about early on, Rich, that 2v2 set win is a huge momentum and confidence booster for your team, especially for the rest of the day. These guys ideally want to go through quarters, semis, and get all the way to finals, you know?
That's the goal here, and, you know, taking a look at Ten God and how he's been so impactful at 2v2, a big part, he says, of his secret is he feels like he's very, very good at math. And so he can quickly understand how the spell cycle will affect the game, and he believes that gives him just a slight edge. And at going 10 and 5 in 2v2 sets, it appears that that is at least somewhat accurate.
Yeah, if you have someone on your team who can count the cycle or keep track of the elixir in 2v2, which is fascinating. That is so much going on, so many moving parts. I mean, we have the luxury, as we saw, we got cards played, elixir of each card cost, and of course the elite elixir in the new overlay here at World Finals. But the fact that Ten God can do that on the fly is fascinating.
Well, again, it speaks to the quality of the 4 players on stage right now. In Ten God and Meek and Booyah, you have 2 CCGS Japan finalists, and across from them, Oddcrap, of course, been involved in the scene for a very long time. Got 5th and 6th at CCGS.
Yeah, I was talking to Oddcrap and the God RF about their deck construction, a very interesting process. They pick about 6 cards that they love surrounding a certain type of meta, and then based off of the bans and what their opponents play, they fill in the rest of their deck accordingly, which it was fascinating watching them build decks and playing 2v2 in practice. Obviously didn't pay off perfectly in game number 1, but it has been very successful throughout the season.
And that's the secret, is having good team chemistry. Remember, now, this isn't the Clash Royale of old.
Yes.
This is a team game. And there's so many situations where, whether it be you have a player who doesn't play as much, but their attitude helps boost the team. Some are primarily deck builders, but the whole team comes together. And not to mention that, a fantastic support staff for many of these squads makes it so you're able to compete at this level.
I mean, you and I are both big sports fans, Rich, and it translates perfectly over to esports. It is another sport. You've got to have those guys on your team that are morale boosters. They're kind of the spiritual captains of the team. Now, with only 4 or 5 players on a team, it's very important that you're not just putting someone in who can't necessarily come up to bat when necessary, but these guys have got amazing, amazing chemistry with one another.
Interesting note about the players on the stage right now, or these two squads, Ponos and Immortals both have 2 left-handed players on each squad.
Yeah, very fascinating. You were talking to me about that a little bit, and playing against someone who goes down the left-hand lane when you're a right-handed player, and whether it affects you or not, I'm not sure if it does at this level. However, there were some very interesting numbers you pulled.
Yeah, a significant portion. I think I ended up doing about 20% of the players here at Clash Royale World Finals, Clash Royale World Finals, are left-handers. And the question is, okay, so of course it doesn't affect anyone at this skill level.
Of course.
The question is, does it self-select at the 2000s or 3000s? You're left-handed, you win a couple extra games, and now you feel more confident about it, and you push harder, just the same way that being left-handed might self-select athletes in traditional sports at young ages.
I mean, that just might be way over my pay grade. So we're getting into the next game here in 2v2. It looks like that was upheld there from Immortals. It's going to be a replay.
So here we go, heading into game number 2 of our 2v2 set. A lot on the line here. Immortals could go in and send this to game number 3, or Ponos with a big shot to take a huge lead and put the pressure on their opponents.
Absolutely. I mean, if Ponos sweeps this 2v2 set, there is a lot riding on Royal's shoulders.
Well, if there's anyone you want that weight on, it has to be Royal, of course. And I mentioned those ladder finishes. It's not just that he finished 2nd and 3rd. He finished it while winning North America Clash Royale League.
Yeah, that is absolutely... I don't know if there are enough hours in the day, but apparently Royal is superhuman in that sense. The other thing is these guys have not seen each other play since the new meta, since the new balance changes, and since the E-Drag has been introduced into the game. Now, we didn't see it in that first game, but, you know, we think we might see it here in game number 2.
Everything's resolved. Let's go.
2v2, game 2.
Game number 2. Miki Booyah 10 God, still top of your screen. Crap, and the God RF at the bottom.
And just to remind you guys, we got combined health of the towers, the amount of cards played, and the amount of elixir leaked on the screen. And once again, that Dark Goblin coming out early for Ponos.
That's a little slicker defense there. Now, I just saw Crap look back to his bench. I'm wondering what that's about, but kind of surprising here to see some almost a minor bait being played in 2v2.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very, very quick cycle deck, and that minor distracting just enough for that Dark Goblin to get a few shots on the tower. If the Dark Goblin connects, it is worth.
This is not a deck that the Americans saw very often. Everyone suspected that the minor bait might be really popular after Surgical Goblin and Diego B ran it on their screen before CRL started. Hasn't been huge.
And look at this push once again, Rich. A very cheap, very quick push. They're already back around to the Dark Goblin. Absolutely amazing here. So how will this quick cycle deck compare against the beatdown deck, especially once we get into double elixir?
But now we're getting in a double golem, so the question is, oh, now it's 2 Infernos, Inferno Tower, Inferno Dragon. That's a lot to deal with, and is the Zap going to get back in cycle in time?
The Zappies are actually right below the Inferno Dragon, Rich. That Inferno Dragon of Immortals is going to be stopped in its tracks. Incredible defense here from Ponos Sports, and honestly, I'm not sure if Immortals knows what's hit them.
They are really kind of in a tough situation here, able to get their log down, but so far it seems that they're really thirsting for elixir as well.
I mean, the deck composition here from Immortals is kind of something that we've seen before from them. A little bit different with the Dark Prince in there, but you look at the top of the screen, and this is not a deck that we saw a lot in North America, and Immortals is really struggling to keep up with it.
We are about 12 seconds from double elixir time, and looks like Immortals here choosing to sacrifice the tower and prepare for one big push to try to take it all in 2v2.
I agree that sacrificing the tower is the correct thing to do, Rich. I have absolutely no idea how they're going to break through. Between the Inferno Dragon, between the Inferno Tower, between the Zappies, how's it going to happen?
It's hard to answer here, Andrew, and the way that Miki Booyah and 10 God are playing together, the rhythm they have right now just seems like it's clicking.
Yeah, you see a little bit of frustration on Immortal's face, not really knowing how to break through here. This is going to be the big moment. There's only 30 seconds left of regulation. It might be in this 2v2 set. You see the double spells come down, and that push is stopped dead in its tracks.
That's got to be it. You hear the Japanese crowd going wild, and this really feels like with 20 seconds left, this is going to be Pono Sports taking the very first set of Clash Royale League World Finals.
Absolutely, Rich. A quick 2 up and 2 down. One of the best, if not the best, 2v2 duo in America is stopped without a sweat by the home country here in Pono Sports.
Unbelievable performance, and that is it. Booyah! Tenga taking the first set of our finals.
You hear that roar of this home crowd. They could not be happier for their boys.
Well, you got to feel good, of course, for the Japanese players showing up in front of their home squad. And look, they are very, very excited. And now it's going to be a big breath. We'll get into the 1v1 in a second. That's going to be a huge, huge moment. But you have to wonder, how does Immortals regroup here? Let's look at this replay.
Yeah, you look at this early push, and it's very cheap. The miner's taking for the Goblin Barrel, and just a lot more damage than you want. Obviously, it's a quick cycle chip deck. You can't have those huge amounts of damage coming in that early.
And this was a fantastic defense. And again, it really feels like, we talked a lot in NA and EU, Andrew, about how a lot of people thought that matchup wasn't as important in 2v2. We just saw in 2 back-to-back games how much Ponos was able to take advantage of matchup.
Yeah, that was absolutely fascinating, the way that they were outplayed there. Honestly, Mikanbuya and Tenga brought something to the table we've never seen before.
And now you look at this deck and you think, Goblin Barrel, that's the win condition for Mikanbuya and Tenga, but they got 8 Dark Goblins down, and in both games, it really felt like the Dark Goblin was the driving force behind Pono's success.
It's so cheap. It's so strong, and it actually sounds like we are going to be having a challenge coming from the North American winners in Immortals, Rich.
So we'll have to find out what that's all about. We'll get more information hopefully fairly soon. Getting back into what we see here, the building elixir spent difference, and that's a big story here as well. Maybe, again, gaining for that double golem, not just the Inferno Dragon, but also the Inferno Tower on defense for that big beatdown deck.
And look how conservative Pono Sports was with their spells. They only used lightning 1 time. The rest of it was all played by heads-up defense from their units. Really, really fascinating and really impressive.
And I'm wondering if that also caught the North Americans off guard, because the Asian regions are not really known for being more troop-based. They're known for being more spell-based in 2v2.
Yeah, and you saw right there, those troops really, really caught them off guard. The Dark Goblin, as you said, coming down 8 times. The Goblin Barrel between the 2 guys, I believe, came down about 6 times. That's a lot. The cycle was so fast, and it was fascinating that that quick cycle deck was able to keep up with the beatdown.
Again, as we started off that game, noting that everyone thought that would be what people were playing when they saw Surgical Goblin and Diego B crushing that 15-win challenge in 2v2 right before CRL began. And then it became a heavy beatdown meta. For a long time, it was double golem. Then it became the Royal Giant Skeleton. We didn't see a lot of success in fast decks in 2v2.
Yeah, and you know, the 2v2 dominance of Immortals throughout the season is something that they've been riding high, and they've been riding it very hard. And right now, Royal has so much on his shoulder, and you can see Shua, the manager of Immortals here, is very passionately arguing for his team, as he should. I have no idea right now what the issue is, but you saw Crab step away from this podium early on in that last one,
taking a look back at his bench.
Yes, exactly. And so I'm not exactly sure what he saw there, and maybe he didn't want to do a double challenge, because you saw in the prior game he did. So, wow, this is a lot for game number 1.
For our first set, yeah, this is pretty wild already out the gate. But again, you have, even with the challenge issues, I'm not denigrating the play. Everyone knows I respect Akrap and the God RF to the highest level as 2v2 players. But you have to take a look at what Ponos did in both of those games. And I really struggle to think about how differently it could go with how great those deck choices were.
Unless it was an obscene amount of lag or something like that. I completely agree with you, Rich. Ponos there, I'm a little speechless, honestly. That was an incredible deck pool, both games in a row, and just sheer dominance.
Now, as a quick note, though, on these challenges, if there is some sort of lag issue, we're replaying that game. That's what happens. And here's a big point about that even if you think someone has matchup, even if someone has taken a tower and you have 1:30 left, anything can happen at CRL. We have called the game before and then been proven wrong in the last split second so many times.
Yeah, Murphy's Law in effect many times. Anything can happen. These are the best players in the world, and they're the best players at 1v1 as well, and finding their new stride in 2v2. And you can see they're kind of conferring here at the stands about what's happening. And this is not something that they did regularly in the season. There were not many challenges coming out from Immortals. They were just pretty much keep their heads down and keep working. You know, when they had losses, they took them on the chin and they bounced back. So I do believe that there is some sort of issue. Now, whether or not the referees here see it, that's the real deciding factor.
And that's going to be our big question, is when the referees, they're taking a very close look at this, looking at all the devices, getting an idea of what actually happened. So there will be a ruling coming, hopefully fairly soon. And right now you're seeing the other players. Look at that. You're taking a look at Nova on their bench now, making notes on the 2v2. And maybe they're also surprised at what Ponos has brought out.
I mean, if I am in anyone else, any other team in this room, I am laser focused on what just happened. Everyone knows the God RF and Akrap are incredible 2v2 players. They're one of the best in the world as a 2v2 duo. And honestly, Ponos kind of took them to school.
Well, you know, we cannot forget how good Ponos was. 10 God going 10-5 overall in 2v2 sets, 25 game wins versus 14 game losses. He was on fire all season in CRL Asia.
Yeah, and on the other side of that, you've got Akrap and the God RF both at 9-4. As I said, they only sat out one 2v2 set. It didn't work out for them. Every other one was this duo, and they had a great amount of success.
And then you have Meek and Booyah also, who he credits a lot of his success in Clash Royale to his experience as a kid playing shogi, the Japanese version of chess. And we've seen that a lot from players in Clash Royale League, whether they were former competitive chess players or many competitive athletes, finding lessons they learned elsewhere and applying them to how they prepare for this professional level.
Yeah, and that also keeps you calm under pressure, Rich. Having that experience in the past is so very important.
Meek and Booyah also said that if he wasn't playing Clash Royale professionally, he says, I could be Prime Minister.
Well, he's definitely got the charisma for it. As I said before, he's a very entertaining man to watch on the stage, and he is the captain of their team in the sense, the player captain, if you will. Now, obviously, they have coaches and other things, support staff, but Meek and Booyah, as you see on the stage, is obviously the shot caller in 2v2. He's kind of their spiritual leader as well. He is always hyped and ready to go.
And that raises an interesting question about 10 God as a 2v2 player, of course, being their main specialist all season. Is part of why he's so good at it is that he's a good dance partner. He knows how to let his partner lead, and he knows how to follow.
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't sure if you'd actually seen them out dancing, and but yeah, that's the synergy. That's what you need. You need to have absolutely no ego here in 2v2. When your player or your teammate sees something that you might not, or they have an idea in their mind that can maybe take the game, it might not always work out, but you have to always double down on what your teammate thinks is going to work.
So still waiting on a final ruling here. Hopefully we'll have some news fairly soon. Just want to make sure they get this thing absolutely right with all that's on the line. Do not want to make any sort of mistakes in this situation.
Yeah, this is the type of situation where you absolutely must make sure every ruling is correct. These guys have fought so hard for so long. And as I was talking about before, it looks like they are not going to rule in favor of Immortals. They are walking away from the stage. Now, that is not 100%, but we're moving on to 1v1. We just got the word, Rich.
There you go. So it is now official and in the books. Ponos Sports taking the sweep in 2v2 and taking the all-important first set. Now they are just one set, 2 game wins away from heading to our semifinals.
Absolutely. And Royal here for Immortals, stepping up for his team, as we have talked about many times before. Number 2 on the ladder, number 3 in the ladder, maybe one of the best in the world.
We are moving on to 1v1, but now we're getting next word that this is actually not the final verdict on this 2v2 set, so a little unorthodox here, but we're going to go and play our 1v1 set not knowing exactly what the word is for 2v2.
That is fascinating to me. So the pressure, right? Let's talk about pressure. We know if they lose that 2v2 set, Royal has to win out to push them to King of the Hill. Now, with this ruling, we don't know. They might be able to come back up there and play 2v2. I don't even know how Royal must be feeling in this moment. Obviously, he knows he has to win, but the fact that Akrap and the God RF can come back and finish that 2v2 set is fascinating.
And now we are just getting information. It is a win for Pono. So a little confusion here and there, but now you see Meek and Booyah celebrating with the baby dragon. We're not getting the full baby dragon impression, but they are very, very happy. And now we know Royal going to a situation where he has to win in order to send his squad to King of the Hill.
Yeah, King of the Hill. All of it will be riding there, but, you know, Royal being one of the best Golem players in the entire world, I'm very, very curious what he's going to come out with today. You got to imagine that Pono Sports has been gaming for him to play Golem, or if I'm Royal, I know that everyone knows I play Golem. So, and with, this is interesting, so you have an Inferno Dragon ban, right? That's coming from Immortals, obviously one of the best cards in the game for stopping any beatdown, but for some reason that makes me think Royal Giant, Rich.
That is very interesting, and is that the Tornado ban also? Are you thinking that Royal's looking at that Tornado ban and going, I can use these two opportunities to throw you off a bit and hit you with that Royal Giant?
Yes, absolutely, because, you know, the Nado's a great card to pull the Royal Giant back, pulling all the units together, and the NATO is one of the most popular cards in all of Royal's deck pool, so that is one of the reasons why it's probably banned, and just in general, one of the strongest defensive cards in the game.
It'd be an interesting call for Royal because he only played Royal Giant 3 times in the regular season out of his 39 head-to-head appearances. So that'd be one of those ones where you're like, maybe not game planning for Royal Giant. That would be a very interesting slide. Now, I also have the theory that if Royal wins game number 1, he'll go to his Steadfast Golem in game number 2.
And you think that's just because he kind of has the cushion and he's so good with it, even if he does lose with Golem in game 2, he's still got game 3 to bounce back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that call. What's fascinating to me is that Raiki Jones is coming in over Roller Perone, and I spoke with the casters before, the Japanese casters, the home team casters, if you will, and they said that Roller Perone is too nervous.
Interesting.
Yes, absolutely. The lights have gotten to him, the stage has gotten to him, so they're putting in Raiki Jones. Fascinating thing about Raiki Jones is he talks to himself while he's playing 1v1 to keep himself calm, so make sure you guys are watching that player cam. I find it incredibly entertaining when he's in there in head-to-head play.
Well, what's fascinating about that beyond is that Roller Perone went 5-0 in 1v1 sets during the season.
Yes.
10-3, but Raiki Jones only went 1-3 in 1v1 sets with a 3-7 win rate.
Yes, and that's exactly, I was using Google Translate to ask them why. This guy's 1-3. Why put him in over a guy who is so dominant? Maybe one of the best, not maybe, one of the best minor players in the entire game. I'm fascinated by it, but it also could be Raiki Jones's deck pool matches up well against Royals. Now, Royal loves beatdown decks. He likes heavier decks. Raiki Jones is a fan of quicker cycle decks and also bridge spam, Rich.
Well, they were saying that they believe Raiki Jones, even though he didn't show it during the season, has a slightly deeper deck pool than Roller Perone. And you mentioned Roller Perone being the minor player. Yes. I asked him during the seeding tournament, is there anything you wouldn't play minor with? He laughed and said Hog.
Yeah, Minor Hog is something you see around the 3000s, not going to see up here on the World Finals stage. Now, Raiki Jones does play a lot of Royal Hogs. I wonder if he's going to substitute in the regular Hog for that after the nerf of the Royals.
Very possible, although, you know, Royal Hogs, even though it has had a nerf, has been slightly reduced, still does have some viability, and you're wondering especially about the Hog Rider Three Musketeers deck, if that really has the same viability as Hog Rider, Royal Hogs Three Musketeers.
Yeah, I mean, because that split lane pressure that you can create, especially against those heavier beatdown decks. I mean, when you do watch those Golem decks or those beatdown decks struggle, it's usually against some sort of quick cycle, bridge spam deck. Now, obviously, against a quick cycle or a bait deck, Golem has the advantage in double elixir, but you got to survive through that single.
Raiki Jones was the runner-up in Clan Royale League and, of course, was part of the Asia region CRL champions in the first season last year, and of course this squad as well. Across from him, though, Royal, CCGS, ESWC, and of course his performance here at CRL Season 1.
Yo, speaking of his performance at CRL Season 1, he closed out the season with an 8-set win streak in 1v1, Rich. 8 sets in a row in the most important games. And you know what? We're just getting new word. We're going back to 2v2 right now, guys. We definitely apologize, but this is great. I love it. We're bouncing back and forth. And as we were just talking about, I think this is necessary. I think you need to know what the outcome is of your 2v2 set before you go into 1v1, Rich.
Well, whatever whiplash you might be experiencing, here's the good news. You get to watch more Clash Royale.
We get to watch more Clash Royale. So, as you guys see on the screen, Lava Hound and NATO are the bands, Miken, Booyah, and Tengod coming out for Pono Sports, and of course the God RF and Aw Crap for Immortals. Now, dominant play from Pono Sports early on. Maybe Immortals can calm down, breathe, and they actually have just called a timeout, Rich.
So now we're going to have another slight delay here as Immortals takes a look at their deck construction. And you know what? I get it. They've been spending this time focusing on the issue with their challenge, and now they want to focus on what do we do with the decks that are coming from this fantastic Ponos duo.
Yeah, each team gets a 1 timeout, a 1 minute timeout, especially to check their decks, as you just said. That needs to happen. They need to adjust their deck pool. They need to figure out a way to counter Pono Sports. However, playing such radically different decks, Ponos, in the first 2 games of that set, I don't really know how you strategize against them, and that's where Trainer Luis comes in.
Yeah, and that's a big part about this. Trainer Luis not here right now, and he was a huge part, of course, a pro player himself in his heyday, but now one of the most exciting coaches in Clash Royale.
And one of the most revered and respected as well, Rich. Everyone knows who Trainer Luis is, and it's because he has kind of that sixth sense in picking out players. Again, putting in Oh Yeah in that King of the Hill in the regional finals in North America was a move that no one really saw coming, and it really paid off.
Well, also recruiting Royal, someone who people knew was good, but they didn't know was great.
I'd never heard of I'd never heard of Royal before the season, honestly.
A lot of people hadn't, and the pros who knew him didn't know he was this good.
Yes, and now, we've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, he is arguably the best in the world.
And that's an important thing at this exact moment. Now, we have all the best in the world here. We have Elsia, we have AUK, we have Expo Master.
Javi 14.
Javi 14, who has been unbelievable.
His dominance at that seeding tournament was fascinating. Last year, he struggled a bit to kind of hit his stride, and he came out punching at that seeding tournament. Everyone was blown away, and I don't think really anyone expected Vivo Keed to be where they are today. Speaking of Vivo Keed, Rich, they only have 3 players here.
Only 3 players, of course. We will dig deep into that as we get closer to Vivo Keed, who is waiting for the winner of this match, by the way.
Yeah, and you see Nova there sitting right behind Pono Sports on the stage, just chomping at the bits, waiting to get there in the semis.
To remind you of this bracket, the winner here of Immortals versus Ponos will face Vivo Keed in the semifinals. And on the other side, we're going to go, of course, with Kingzone Dragon X against Team Queso, and the winner of that will face Nova in that side of the semifinals.
Absolutely, and that's one of the most fascinating things about this bracket. A lot of teams thought, or a lot of players in the community out there thought that Team Queso and Nova might be in the finals, but they can't. They're on the same side of the bracket. That might be a semifinal show, it might not. But right now, we're talking Immortals and Pono Sports, and you see Reiki Jones and Roller Pro, and they're just sitting back waiting.
Yeah, their squad seems fairly relaxed despite all the issues going on. And of course, that's a big question. How does a delay affect your mentality? And it seems like they still feel very calm, very confident. Immortals, though, kind of out of character, seem a little frazzled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. That was absolutely incredible play by their opponents. And you see now the coach has stepped away. The timeout is over. They're getting their headsets on, and we're getting ready to go into essentially game number 2.
It is game number 2 because this is a replay now. So hopefully we'll see a little more smooth action here from these 2 squads. And of course, you still see that big smile on Mikambuya's face.
I mean, what is there not to be happy about? They had very, very interesting decks. They were not, it was matchup. We talk about matchup in 2v2 a lot. They had matchup advantage.
So we are moments away. Our referee's getting everything set up here. The game will get going soon. And, I got to wonder what the players who are watching are thinking this right now from the other teams.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Rich. They're probably thinking that they don't want that to happen when they're on stage, but also it gives them more time to strategize against their opponents.
So there you go, RF letting out a big bit of breath there, as Awcrap as well. And Reiki Jones, Mikambuya just itching to get back in.
And here we go. We are getting into game number 2 of 2v2.
2v2, game 2.
And just a reminder, it's Pono Sports top of your screen, Immortals at the bottom, and the ban cards are still Lava Hound and Tornado.
Let's see what Immortals brings to the table.
So again, a fast start here. Miner on the inside. Remember, there is no NATO, so that's a safe place to put it.
And so far, we're seeing a lot of the same cards coming out for Pono Sports. Honestly, Immortals might have not expected them to run it back, and they had so much success with it, that it was was not, I mean, that's a pretty good play there. Except for the tombstone up in the river. I really like that.
Very interesting play there, I guess, trying to protect that giant skeleton from damage, although it didn't do its job.
Exactly, just a half second too late, trying to catch that charge from the Prince, not paying off. But as you see right now, in both prior games, at this moment, Immortals had already taken a bunch of damage, Rich.
This is a big, big difference, so a much better start here for the North American champions. Now, Andrew, it's curious to me, because it's at least so far it seems like Lumberjack and Giant Skeleton is a big part of the Ponos game plan, but without Tornado to pull troops back towards the tower and open a lane up for Giant Skeleton to get there, it seems like that's a very challenging win condition.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're more so using it to have a tanky card that is adding a lot of defense. They want,
and there you go,
I was going to say, yeah, we're going to see a Royal Giant most likely coming out, a cannon coming down, that extra 300 HP was utilized. I mean, Akrap and the God around have said they're the ones that coined using the cannon over the tombstone because of that additional damage and additional health, stopping that Royal Giant right there.
Well, talking about Ponos fooling people, they had me completely fooled because the way that push was with the tombstone blocking for the Giant Skeleton, the Lumberjack behind it, I was like, are they going for Giant Skeleton as the way they're trying to make it? But no, the Giant Skeleton Royal Giant combination, which of course has been so fantastic in 2v2.
Yeah, very, very popular combination there. Such a great card, or such a great duo there. You get the Giant Skeleton in front of the Royal Giant, tanking, cleaning up all those DPS troops from your opponent, and obviously that Royal Giant doing so much damage, even with the shorter range.
And now we have a P.E.K.K.A to me on the left-hand side. What do they have on the right, though? Because this is a huge push.
That is a huge push. They see something there, and overcommit with the P.E.K.K.A in the left to stop that Giant Skeleton. So they drop the Royal Giant. That bomb's going to kill that Prince. And one shot. 2 shots from that Royal Giant.
2 big-time shots. We are now 30 seconds away from sudden death overtime. Now, it is a slight damage lead. We took at the both side towers here for Ponos, but the deeper tower right now is that left-hand tower of Ponos. The damage being done there by Immortals.
And it looks like Immortals shook off a little bit into those World Finals jitters, and they are now playing to their potential. You see they've got a slight damage lead, actually a pretty hefty damage lead on that left side tower. Baby Dragon does connect, and now Immortals is doing what they are known to do.
So a lot coming down this left-hand lane. Double Giant Skeleton. Double Royal Giant. Wow.
And the Prince coming in isn't going to be enough. They have got the double cannon. I love it, but you still got a very healthy Royal Giant and the cleaned up P.E.K.K.A.
Wow, that log, though, buying just enough time to create some space, so maybe saving their tower, and now the E-Dragon will take care of the Inferno Dragon, E-Wiz will take care of the Inferno Dragon, and we are now in sudden death overtime. The left-hand tower of Ponos down to 657, in a lot of danger.
An incredible display of defense from Immortals right there, stopping that gigantic push, monster push from Ponos Sports. You see the cannon is really paying off in this game.
And what about that Giant Skeleton as a minor pickup there, though, for Ponos? Not the traditional card you see to pick up a minor, but working great.
And you see another missed minor there, sending it right into that Lumberjack. And on top of that, Ponos holding the E-Wiz to drop right on top of it. And oh my goodness, I do not know how this is going to be stopped, Rich. There's not enough elixir in the hand of Immortals.
And there's no Tornado to pull that Royal Giant back. Fireball comes in to clean up troops. Royal Giant,
that's going to do it, Rich. That is going to do it. You are a spell away. Other than a zap, you got lightning, you got fireball. That's going to do it.
And that is it. There we go. No challenge this time. Ponos Sports closing out 2v2 in style after falling behind.
Yes, so close throughout that. You saw a little bit of maybe overcommits. You saw great pickups by Ponos cleaning up that minor. That minor getting picked up 3 times in a row was the difference in that game.
Absolutely, and picking it up with a Giant Skeleton of all things.
I mean, that is some crazy heads-up play, and then obviously the unfortunate minor coming into that running Lumberjack. But as I said, Ponos was smart enough and had the foresight enough to hold that E-Wiz to drop on top. You can always drop the E-Wiz on top of the minor after it comes up on your side of the map.
And here is that big push, and you see this, the cannons with that 300 extra HP being used a lot by Immortals to try to play defense, just not quite enough here, and this is that big come from behind moment.
Yeah, you saw the defense in the very first replay working out. Now you see in the second replay, Ponos just doubles down, and there is just not enough. Way too much to stop. for Immortals, and you see 21 of their elixir are spent on buildings.
And on that replay, Andrew, the discipline of Ponos to play the fireball on the push to clean up the defensive troops rather than try to go all in on the tower, that may have been the difference in why they won that game.
I mean, they know that it's more important to get the Royal Giant on the tower than it is to get that fireball. And you look right here, 6 Royal Giants played, 8 Giant Skeletons played. Absolutely fascinating. And you look on the other side of the screen with Immortals, their win condition essentially was going to be the miner. That's what they were trying to get the majority of their damage from. Mama Pekka's there to clean up, and if you actually get your Prince to the tower, that's not going to happen often at CRL 2v2 at this high of a level.
But also look at that, how rarely they played their big spells, the poison and the lightning not coming into play, and it's because with those Giant Skeletons and Royal Giants, that's not a lot of use there.
Yeah, that's a huge spell, Rich. That is a massive spell, and it is incredible at cleaning up the defense. Wow, I am thoroughly impressed by Ponos Sports.
So Ponos takes the all-important first set, and now we are getting to our second set. 1v1 finally on its way, and as we said before, it's going to be Royal facing off against Reiki Jones, the ban cards Inferno Dragon and Tornado.
And we talked about it before. We think Royal might be playing Royal Giant. Reiki Jones maybe going for something a little bit quicker and faster, maybe some sort of bridge spam deck. Going to be very, very fascinating. Reiki Jones, not the strongest head-to-head player on Ponos Sports, but maybe the calmest.
And that might be a big issue here. We've talked, a lot of coaches have talked about managing emotions and mentality might be more important here on this stage than managing deck construction and technical skill.
I mean, 100%. I was absolutely floored when I saw that Roller Perron was benched today. He's not even on the roster.
Not yet, not even for King of the Hill.
No, he's not. And again, he's one of the best in the world at 1v1. So shocking here, and Reiki Jones is going to, I mean, he's got the cushion now. He's got a very dominant 2v2 set win from his teammates in Tengad and Mikembuya.
Now we see that regular season, and record speaking, Ponos Sports does have the advantage in 2v2, and we just saw them take the win.
Yes.
But on the other side, look at that advantage that we have for Royal, or for Immortals overall in 1v1, and that's all on the back of the Romanian.
And that's 2-1, but what's more fascinating, Rich, why don't we talk about King of the Hill? 15-6 from Ponos Sports, whereas Immortals not getting there a lot, they're dead even.
Yeah, they didn't go there very often, and again, that was because that duo of Awcraft GodRF would set up Royal to sweep things out so often. So if we do go to King of the Hill, it'll be interesting to see how they all step up to the plate emotionally in that situation.
Yeah, and the thing is with that dominant record of King of the Hill by Ponos, I don't think that Immortals wanted to go to King of the Hill against them. They needed to take that 2v2 set. Now, that being said, obviously they are going to want to step up to the plate. They're still never out of the game. But right now, you see Royal is getting ready to go.
Trying to communicate effectively here. I guess we're using some other methodology to get Royal ready for this big moment, and he's been in so many huge moments. The players he went up against in the North American region, some of the best on the planet, so we know it's very hard to shake him.
Yeah, and speaking of nerves, he does get nervous. He absolutely does get nervous, but he has an incredible way of keeping his confidence, keeping his calm, and you see his record shows, it speaks for itself.
A fantastic player, but of course, Reiki Jones, despite having a rough season in 1v1, had a great season in King of the Hill.
Game 1.
1v1, game 1 on its way.
Here we go. Ponos, Reiki Jones, top of your screen. Immortals, Royal at the bottom.
Royal does love those goblin emotes.
A little kissy face there from Reiki Jones.
And as I said before, pay very close attention to Reiki Jones at the top corner of your screen on the right-hand side. He loves to talk to himself, to keep himself calm. You can see him kind of laughing sometimes, chuckling to himself, whether he makes good or bad plays. It's very fascinating.
Look at that. Royal sending out a little well played, and then also you saw him peek at his opponent there for a moment.
They are standing literally feet away from each other.
So, waiting for a moment, but now with the first minute almost gone, we do see the Barbarian Hut responded to with the Baby Dragon.
Baby Dragon, Fire Spirits with the Lumberjack. Could be Royal Giant, could be Golem.
We've seen him play the Fire Spirits with Golem as well, but it definitely does have a lot of Royal Giant feel to it.
Yeah, and then you see here from Reiki at the top of your screen, a lot faster cards here with the Bandit, with the Bats, with the Barb Barrel, and of course that pesky Flying Machine.
Flying Machine, and it's something we didn't see a lot in this last 2v2 set, but has gotten so much value, especially in 2v2.
Yeah, and look at those numbers on the left-hand side of your screen. 30% of his games won, 3 and 7, and of course Royal at the bottom, 74%, 25 and 9, and there are the Royal Hogs. Despite the nerf, Reiki Jones has used the Royal Hogs over 7 times in his deck pool. So knowing that the nerf is there, still wanting to play the Royal Hogs, you wonder if Royal was expecting that.
He has played the 3M Royal Hogs Barbarian Hut combination as well, so might we expect 3 Musketeers here as we get closer to double elixir time?
I mean, that we've seen it before out of Reiki Jones. Wouldn't be surprised to see it again. As for Royal here, still thinking it could be Golem. There it is.
So Royal opting to go Golem right out the gate. You know, color me wrong, I thought he would save it for a little bit later, as did you, but here we are.
Excellent fire spirits there.
Can Royal do what he's known for? Can he take a deck that you expect from him and stomp on you? And there you go, the 3 Musketeers does come out.
Yeah, and Royal is playing very, very good right now. He's got a big push coming down. He cleans up those Musketeers on the right-hand side, now able to focus solely on offense, and he has got a lot of healthy units on that side of the board, and able to Golem up once again, Rich.
And that second Golem, that might be the big move here. And now Reiki Jones has a lot of decisions to make in how he's going to meet that, getting the Barbarian Hut on the opposite side, looking for a very long pull here on that Golem.
And that Barb Hut is a great counter to the Golem. The Barb Hut has a great amount of health. It's going to pull the Golem to the center of the screen. And of course, those Barbs do a good amount of damage.
But it does not get the pull.
No.
The Golem does not get picked up with the Barb Hut. And now we are down to under 1,000 HP.
That's going to do it, Rich. That is going to be towered down. Royal is going to take game number 1 here. And a little Goblin flex there. Just waiting on that lightning.
Well, we've seen it before. Crazy lightning block action. Can Reiki Jones block lightning enough to get back in this? Unlikely, but this is CRL World Finals. Anything can happen.
I'd really like to go back and look at that Golem push coming down the lane and what stopped it from going to that Barb Hut.
And that's it. You see Reiki Jones putting his head down, knowing he got caught there, and it was all about that Barb Hut.
Absolutely.
Not getting the Golem pull.
You almost feel like Royal got away with one there. Now, obviously, he was playing out of his mind the whole time, but that Barb Hut, and you see the frustration on Reiki's face. That Barb Hut not pulling the Golem was basically a gimme at that point.
So let's go back. Here is the big moment, and it was just a little bit before that. You see just how far that Barb Hut is out to the right, and you know, and this I think this was the Golem that Royal played all the way in the bottom left corner, so it was hugging that left-hand lane.
Absolutely, and it must have been the units coming from Royal surrounding it, whether it was the Lumberjack or something, kind of keeping the Golem in its lane, getting to that tower, that Barb Hut not doing its job.
So despite the building elixir spent not pulling effectively, it only took Royal 2 Golems to get this thing under control, and now he's 1 win away from sending his squad to King of the Hill.
So, going back to what you said earlier on, do you think he still plays Golem in game number 2 because he won with it in game 1? He's got the cushion, he's got... Oh, you know what? We're getting a timeout from Ponos, Rich.
So Ponos taking some time to regroup here, take a look at the deck pool, and you know what? Here's the big question. You know, do you play Golem and go again? Oh, and do you get the Golem out? Do you put it on board? Or do you just say, you know what, I'm going to switch things up? Royal's so good at it, and here to give us a little insight as to whether we think that's going to happen, one of your good friends, one of our good friends, it's Ash.
I'm fanboying right now. What's up, brother?
I am fanboying. This place is amazing. What's up, guys? How you doing?
We are so excited, man.
I am excited too. You know, no big surprises there. I like that Royal opened up with his bread and butter, the Golem deck too, because you don't necessarily expect him to use it, right?
So what did you think about that 2v2 set between Immortals, you know, Akrap, the God RF, Tengod, and Mikambuya? That was a dominant display.
I love the fact, and you guys probably mentioned it, but I love the fact that both those teams are probably the two strongest 2v2 sets of players in this entire arena right now. And I love a big props to Mikambuya. He's one of my favorite players. He is like the leader of that team, and he took a step down from 1v1 this season to add that synergy to the 2v2 with Tengod, their 2v2 specialist. Love that guy, and no big surprise that Ponos came out really, really strong in 2v2.
So now here we are, though, in 1v1. Royal going to what he's known for, and you know he's going to play Golem. You play 3 Musketeers, you play the Barb Hut, and one missed Barb Hut changes everything.
You know what it is, too, is a lot of people think, oh, 3 Musketeers, Royal is running Lightning, that's an automatic win for Royal, but that is not the case at all. With Lightning as a 3 Musketeer player, especially when you're running Barb Hut, you can definitely block that Lightning.
Yes.
So I would have actually given the edge there in that matchup, not to Royal, to Reiki. Speaking of Reiki, I'm shocked that Rola Perron is not in there for 1v1.
And we were talking about that, Ash. He's too nervous. That's
really
what it is. The nerves got to him.
You know what it is he just got here today, but he has by far and away the best record out of anybody in Ponos in 1v1. So I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah, well, we're about to hop into the next game here. What do you think the adjustments need to be made on Reiki Jones' side?
Reiki Jones, it's tough at this point. I was surprised that he ran Royal Hogs after the nerf. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to something a little bit more in his wheelhouse here. We'll have to wait and see. Royal, hey, I wouldn't be shocked if he runs back-to-back Golem here. He won the first match against a pretty tough counter. Yeah. I think he could do it again, guys.
We will see. And just remember your card bands up on the screen one more time. Inferno Dragon and Tornado. We thought Inferno Dragon was a juke ban. Turns out it was a straight ban.
Yeah, and I hope we don't have to cut you off here, Ash, but what happened on that pull from the Barb Hut and the Golem?
You know, it's just a misplay there. It's
too low?
The pressure, yeah, the pressure can get to you in these situations.
Game 2.
Guys, I will be right back with you after this match.
All right, game number 2 on its way.
So here we are, well played, this time from Reiki Jones. Maybe the well played is the good luck emote now.
I mean, maybe it is. Reiki Jones feeling the heat, obviously, from that misplayed Barb Hut. Let's see if he can bounce back here. And obviously, Royal trying to take Immortals to King of the Hill.
And that's the big question. Does Royal go Golem again? He's just so, you know he's going to do it, and he's so good at it.
Yeah, and you know what? Prince is in Golem decks. He does have a Golem Prince deck, and there's the E-Drag making its CRL World Finals debut.
And this will be a big question. How do all these players contend? It's been the most discussed card of the entire month. Of course, it's dominated the meta in a lot of ways. So how do these players contend with the first E-Drag appearance?
I think he just plays his bread and butter again, Rich. I honestly think he's just going to do it again, but he's going to change up his deck pool.
So the big question now is, does he have Lightning in this deck again?
And you see Reiki there going again with a quick deck, Bandit, Battle Ram. You got the Dark Goblin in there, and of course the Bats.
And we're probably expecting a P.E.K.K.A in there as well.
Yes.
But now we're going Miner here from Royal, so making a little bit of a shift here, some gamesmanship now coming from Immortals.
Yeah, very, very fascinating card. You know, Royal not really known to be much of a Miner player here in CRL, kind of throwing a curveball at his opponent.
Yeah, Royal ran Giant Miner once, he ran Lava Miner once, but other than that, not much in the way of Miner.
Yeah, Miner being one of the favorite cards of a lot of the pros out there, not one of the cards Royal plays a lot. I'm just really curious to see, and a little bit of BM there coming out from Royal.
So the question now is, does this bridge spam variation change the way that Reiki Jones works this deck? In particular, now he knows it against Miner, and it's Lava Miner here.
Yep.
Does this really, I mean, the Lava in particular makes that potential P.E.K.K.A in that deck a little bit more of a dead card.
Yeah, very fascinating. You got to think the Lightning is going to be the last card in Royal's hand, right?
You have to think so. So here we are in sudden death overtime. Things are pretty even so far. And now the Miner getting on. And there we go. P.E.K.K.A being used to pick up Miner.
Yeah, the P.E.K.K.A's coming in. But with that Tombstone and with the Prince in Royal's hand, he's got a lot of answers to stop Mama P.E.K.K.A there. Pretty much able to ignore her in this sense.
Very interesting picking up that Miner when it was killing the Dark Goblin that high. Maybe just wanting to force a response.
Yeah, he was just trying to pick off that Dark Goblin there. And you see the Lightning coming in from Royal. Now, Reiki Jones opting to switch lanes.
So Reiki trying to create some pressure on this side, get away from his damage tower. We are about 20 seconds away.
Did you see that Barb Barrel going in to take out the Dark Goblin? Royal probably didn't want to leak, but an excellent pickup from Reiki Jones with that Mama P.E.K.K.A.
Very aggressive with the P.E.K.K.A so far, so nice work here from the Japanese standout, trying to make mid-game adjustments. We are now headed to sudden death overtime.
Yeah, and that's not what Royal wants. He doesn't want to be playing in that left-hand lane. He wants to push the right, as you see, so he's going to try to play as minimal defense as he can in the left so that he can opt to take that right-hand tower. But Reiki Jones is not going to stop, and that Battle Ram is going to get through.
And there we go, a huge amount of damage, and now it's Reiki Jones taking the lead here in game number 2.
I'll be honest, Rich, I'm very shocked that Lava Hound came down, knowing that Battle Ram, or knowing that big left-hand push was coming. However, Lava Hound doing well. We need the lightning to take out, there it is, that E-drag.
So no miner here yet, and there we go, the miner now, just as those pups come out.
That should... I was going to say, that should do it, Rich. He opts to ignore the ban at the bottom right hand of the screen. Now we're a lightning away. Is he going to stop? Yep, the Battle Ram has stopped, and that is going to be Royal taking this to King of the Hill for Immortals.
And just so close, 8 HP, but here a Battle Ram coming down.
Where's the lightning?
Where is the lightning?
Get the lightning down.
He has to
goes with the miner instead.
And there it is, Royal taking the sweep and sending this thing to King of the Hill.
This is what it's all about. Match number 1, going to King of the Hill. A sweep by Pono Sports. A sweep by Immortals, and now we are getting into our favorite gameplay here at CRL, and I believe we got a friend joining us for every King of the Hill today, Rich.
And welcome back, Ash. That was unbelievable. What fantastic play. Now, here is that big moment. You see the miner coming in on the inside and making enough room for those pups to go finish things off.
Yeah, got really, really close there with that Lava Hound being played. You saw the big aggressive push from Reiki Jones on the left-hand side. Royal just barely stopping it, opting to ignore the bandit at the very end of the game on the right and taking that tower.
Now, Ash, taking a look at what we just saw here from Royal, you know, I had to convince you during the regular season that Royal was one of the top, if not the top player in the world. What do you think seeing him live?
Easy, Rich. We had a 1-2 difference on Royal. Royal is an absolute stud on ladder. He's an amazing player. The best win rate in NA, and certainly probably in CRL.
Yes.
In 1v1, he's a specialist. He's a beast. I loved his patience in that match. You see the Lava Hound, it had a sliver of health before he sent in that miner. He lightninged against the E-drag. Just a beautiful play by Royal there.
And I love that he held the lightning at the end. Rich and I were up here losing our minds. Just get the lightning down, end the game. He opts to hold the elixir, send in the miner, the safe plays, why he's the best in the world. And one of the other things I love, he's played Lava Hound Miner once, as you said, Rich.
Yeah, going a little off his deck pool here. I thought he would go off his deck pool for game 1 and onto his golem game 2. Plays the opposite way. Now, the other thing for me here, Andrew, you mentioned that Lava Hound with all the pressure in the left-hand lane. That was a really brave play.
It really was, and he was just barely able to defend enough on that left-hand side. I honestly thought it was a little bit too aggressive, but that's why he's there, and I'm here.
Now, Ash, we've seen the first Electro Dragon. Seen it and play. How you feeling?
The Electro Dragon, you know, the question with Electro Dragon is, what do you do? Do you play Electro Dragon? Do you ban Electro Dragon? And the answer is really one of 3 things, right?
Absolutely.
You run it in your deck, you ban it if you're not going to play it, or you run Lightning. Exactly what Royal did there, so no surprises there. And I was just waiting for the Electro Dragon in Royal's deck, because traditionally, we do see that Lava Hound in that miner with the double dragon, Baby Dragon, Electro Dragon. Not the case here. He ran the Lightning there in the Prince.
I truly believe that was an incredible matchup, gamesmanship, maybe from their coaching staff, whatever it was. That deck had all the answers to Reiki Jones.
Now, you see all that timer pop up at the right top corner of your screen. The teams have a few minutes now to set their lineups for King of the Hill. For some of you viewers who aren't familiar, King of the Hill, each team nominates 3 players. Each player gets just 1 life, 1 opportunity to show up for their squad, and the first team to eliminate all 3 from the other side wins the games, the set, and the match. So, let's talk about lineups.
The best game mode, by the way, King of the Hill. I am an unabashed, huge fan of King of the Hill. It's so intense. I love it. It's just 1 match and you're out, you know?
I'm just very curious to see who the 6 players are coming out. Now, you got to assume for Immortals, it's probably going to be Royal, the God RF, but is it going to be Oh Yeah, or is it going to be Oh Crap?
It's interesting. I think that Akrap has actually struggled a bit, even though he is probably one of the senior guys in terms of experience. He's been around since beta, been dominating. I would not be shocked if they go with Oh Yeah, though. Oh Yeah is a really solid player. Talking to trainer Luis, too, he's really high on Oh Yeah.
Well, Oh Yeah, again, it's the X factor he likes from him. He thinks he's a fantastic player, but also you don't really know how to prepare for him. There's not much deck pool information.
He's played, what, 4 or 5 matches so far?
You got this is a massive card of deck pools for Royal. There's about 3 decks for Oh Yeah out there. It's very hard to game against him. And right now we see here, you got Akrap, who's 0-2 in head-to-head play, or excuse me, in King of the Hill play. Probably not wanting to play him, but Oh Yeah at the bottom of the screen has only played 4 times. But in general, Immortals doesn't really get there that often.
So looking at the Ponos lineup, we're assuming Mikan Booya and Raiki Jones, and the question probably is, it's most likely going to be Fuchi here as the third player.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about Fuchi, Ash.
So here's the deal with Fuchi. He's an incredible player. He has the most experience at live events. He's the Fuchi and Expo Master, the only two players here at the World Finals who were actually at the CCGS World Finals last year in London.
Wow.
So Fuchi has a lot of experience, but he hasn't been used much. And like I talked about before, I'm just really surprised that Rolla Perone is not playing here. He's their strongest King of the Hill. He's their strongest 1v1. Along with Mikan Booya, I'm just surprised at this play, even if he's nervous.
Yes.
In my opinion, you run out your best players.
Do you think you take a nervous player like that? Let's say Rolla Perone hadn't been benched for this match. I think you take that player and put him in the #1 spot.
Number 1 or 2, certainly, right?
Yes.
I don't know if number 2 is best, so the nerves aren't there, or in number 2, maybe your first player picks up a win or 2, and then there's not as much pressure on you. Either way, I'm kind of surprised here. Fuchi hasn't played much, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to St. Bellican from Team Queso and their coaches in general, and putting your player who is the most nervous usually in that very first King of the Hill spot is the way to go, because you're not really, I mean, obviously you're still losing something. You're losing one of your 3 lives. However, it's not the game, it's not the match on the line, and if you're trying to get your confidence in your players, if you're trying to get Rolla Perone to hit his stride, I think you don't bench him today. I think you do keep him in the lineup, just maybe if you go to King of the Hill, and here we are.
And you might need him later, and I don't want to go next level here, but it could be next level strategy. They could be hiding Rolla Perone if they're confident enough, but you can't be confident when you're going against Royal.
Absolutely. I mean, Royal just rolled right through Raiki Jones.
Royal is the ultimate anchor, too. He's going third, and even if they're down 0-2, Royal is the type of player who could easily sweep Ponos.
So let's talk predictions for this lineup. I'm thinking for Immortals, most likely RF to open up, then yeah, closing of course with Royal. But what's happening on the side of Ponos? Do you put Mikan to open? Do you put him to close? Where do you, especially without Rolla Perone on the lineup, how do you order these guys?
Yeah, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I'm using Mikan Booya as my anchor. Orange Boy is the man. I have a lot of faith in him. He's done well in King of the Hill. He hasn't actually done that well so far in 1v1 this season. So it'll be interesting how they go. I mean, I play Rolla Perone. I play him first, but
he's not in the lineup. So I think what
true.
they have to do is I think they open with Fuchi.
It's going to be Fuchi.
I think they open with Fuchi to give Raiki Jones a little bit of a break, you know,
Fuchi,
collect himself.
Raiki, and Mikan, I guess.
And I'm completely with you on the Immortals lineup.
Yeah, the Immortals lineup, that sounds like it could be what's up. Of course, then yeah, hasn't played on a big stage like this before, and this is the biggest stage. So do you go with the guy in Crap who's been under these big lights many, many times?
It's a tricky decision here. Though, meeting him, talking to him, he does not seem nervous. He does not seem phased.
Yeah,
you know?
man, he's always just
He's 16 years old.
I know. I'm definitely more nervous than he is about to get on that stage. It's fascinating. I don't think you play Crap. He's 0-2 in King of the Hill, and that's on a smaller stage. That's in regional finals. And the times that he did have to go there, he was already very comfortable in that space. You don't throw him up here, I don't think.
As much as I would love to see the classic Crap golem clone, I don't think we'll be seeing it. And you know, just like Mikan, I think that a lot of Crap's strength this season has been being a team player, going into the 2v2, learning and dissecting it, even though it didn't really work out for him today, but they went against Ponos, and I don't know, the home field advantage too.
Yes. The crowd here has been electric in support of their Japanese squad. Now, moving the conversation forward a little bit, now we talk about the bans, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
So from the Ponos side, do you ban specifically for Royal, or do you ban for the whole squad?
I think you ban for Royal. I think you take away the strongest player, because I believe, in my mind, Pono Sports thinks that they can take everyone else out. I don't think they see Crap, the God RF, and as that big of threats. Royal, however, you need to get him out of the way.
See, the thing is how do you ban for Royal, though? That's the problem,
That's a good question.
What I would do is, especially against Immortals, is I would try to ban for the team, taking your strengths into consideration. It's tough to do. It's really tough, but, you know, I guess if you're going to ban for Royal, you ban NATO, but it didn't work out for him.
And here we go, the lineup, and looks like we've got it right on the nose. The God RF opening up for Immortals, followed by and then Royal. And for Ponos, it's going to be Fuchi, Raiki Jones, and then Mikan Booya.
I'm proud of us. I'm just going to go ahead and come out and say it. Look at that. We called it the perfect lineup from both of these squads, doing what they need. Build the confidence in Fuchi. Let Raiki Jones get his confidence back. Get your solid anchor in Mikan Booya to close it out if necessary. Now, the ban's fascinating. That NATO is the same ban they used in 1v1. Didn't pay off.
No, you can't ban NATO against Royal. He's too versatile. So I think that NATO is just kind of a safe overall ban. You can plan your decks to not have to worry so much about King Tower activation.
Well, I'll give you 2 theories about that NATO ban. Theory number 1 is that they wanted to run some Three Musketeers, and now they're getting that Three Musketeers ban opposite. theory number 2 here is we have seen what the God RF does with NATOs, both in 2v2 and 1v1. So maybe you're going, hey, this card will get out of the way, helps our deck pool, but also it takes the God RF a little bit off the board as well.
And the God RF played a decent amount of Three Musketeers in that seeding tournament, and that wasn't extremely successful for him, but Three Musketeers are out of the way, NATO is out of the way. I am very, very curious to see what the God RF is going to bring to the table.
Splash Yard.
Hey, that is a good call.
The God RF is a really, really good player. I'm not saying anything that people don't know already if they've watched any CRL. The thing about the God RF is he's an excellent graveyard player.
Yes.
He's incredibly patient. He's nerves of steel on this guy. Potentially, the God RF could get 1 or 2 and maybe potentially even sweep this lineup. He's that good.
And what I think is fascinating about that is even his teammates give him a hard time about playing Splash Yard. It's a dead deck. It doesn't work. No one else can do it, but Royal still can.
And not just can, he has here during the seeding tournament. He had some struggles early on, and then he went, you know what? I'm just going to go Splash Yard, and that's when he had his most success.
So let's talk about that first matchup, huh? Fuchi versus the God RF.
Fuchi, another one of those wild cards. What is he going to bring out? We'll see pretty soon here, guys. But Fuchi is a guy who is very, very versatile. But again, the track record this year, really, really tough to say. Really tough to say what he will bring out in terms of deck selection. He's a versatile player, just kind of like the entire Ponos roster. He reminds me a lot, play style, of actually Mikan Booyah. All the Ponos guys, cycle. You think speed when you think of these guys.
It's just interesting because Fuchi's only played in 3 sets in his entire career at CRL. He's played in King of the Hill 2 times, and he split those games 1-1. So
interesting.
Go ahead.
No, interesting fact about Fuchi, too, is he lost first round in CCGS World Finals, but he lost to Sergio Ramos, the guy who went on to win, and he lost against a hard counter to one of those matches. So it's going to be interesting. Fuchi is a really good player, seasoned player.
A good note for you, Andrew, you might like this looking at Fuchi's deck pool. He loves to play Mortar Miner, and now with the Tornado ban, maybe that Mortar Miner gets a little bit extra buff here.
Absolutely.
Sweet Rich, now everyone hates me. Yeah, I mean, he might absolutely play it. It's still a very strong deck, and we talk about that Mortar deck being one of the strongest in the meta right now. You know, we talk about Mortar, we talk about Golem, and Three Musketeers.
Absolutely. What I'm looking for here, what I really want here, guys, is I want to see Royal versus Mikan Booyah all on the line. Those two players are 2 of my favorite to watch in this entire tournament.
Game 5 of King of the Hill, I mean, who knows?
What a great way to start off even going to King of the Hill now, a fantastic way to kick off the World Finals, but of course, going all the way to the end. And the way the room has reacted so far to the play, I can imagine electricity of seeing Royal versus Mikan Booyah for all the marbles.
And you see the life that has been breathed back into Immortals bench. You see them smiling and having a good time back in their player holding center, because obviously that was a rough start in 2v2. It really was.
It was a really rough start. And you think about Immortal strength and you think, well, they're obviously, they have Royal, so they're great in 1v1, but you think they're also a really, really strong 2v2 team. And, you know, I hate to say it, but today here, Ponos looked like, you know, they were child's play for them. The home squad really came and proved that they belong here on this big stage. There's no doubt about it.
Well, 100%. A little inside information, Immortals did have some trouble finding training partners for their 2v2 between the end of CRL, NA, and EU and today.
Yeah, I heard they had to actually use Andrew. That's when you're really getting bad.
Look, I did my best, okay? Yeah, and that's 100% true. It was Oya and Royal were their 2v2 partners. Now, obviously very good players, but they're not giving them the level of competition that a true 2v2 duo that is used at CRL would. So that, I think, has a big part of why they struggled so much in that set.
Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. It looks like both of the players are at the podium here. It's just the question of, ooh, the nerves. That's the biggest thing for me, and it's got to feel good to have these guys chanting your name in the background.
Game 1.
So here we go, getting into King of the Hill, game number 1.
Fuchi, top of your screen. It's going to be the God RF at the bottom. The first game of King of the Hill, so much on the line, so exciting.
Yeah, God RF 6-5 in King of the Hill, Fuchi 1-1, and I'm just going to say it for both of us, Rich. I love having Ash here with us. It's such a treat.
It's so nice. It's been fun hanging out with him all week, getting ready for this show. A lot of wonderful insight, very, very good dude, and we'll be happy to see him coming back here up a whole bunch during this, but right now, we're looking at this matchup, and it is the Flying Machine taking care of the Baby Dragon to open things up.
Splash Yard!
Splash Yard! Mega Minion, Baby Dragon, and so far Ponos really seems to love the Skeleton Barrel, and maybe a big part of that is the recent buff it got in the last update.
One of my favorite cards in the entire game, Rich. I love the defensive capabilities behind it. I love that it can tank. I love that it has got a bait aspect to it. Very, very fascinating. So is this deck coming from Fuchi.
And a nice barrel there to pick up the skeleton barrel. Yeah, this is a slightly interesting variation on Golem Night Witch, with the Goblin Gang and the Flying Machine and a skeleton barrel.
Yeah, very interesting. Obviously no NATO in play to assist that baby dragon. Will we be seeing a poison? Will we be seeing lightning? Who knows?
So a deck that you probably assumed that Roy will be running here in our King of the Hill set, coming out for the God RF. And here we go, the Lumberjack did a good job on defense on his side, although taking about 2,000 damage. And really the defense of Fuji's what pays off bigger.
And this counter push coming back from Fuji is huge, going all in, knowing that that bar barrel is not in cycle, and knowing that they have to save that bar barrel for the skeleton barrel, knows he can put the Goblin Gang in and then create that big push there.
And this is a challenge. I think this might be part of the Goblin, or the skeleton barrel Golem combination.
And look at that skeleton, Rich! That barb taken for the skeleton, that's huge!
Oh my gosh, and now a huge swing as we enter into our double elixir time. Suddenly, for almost no elixir, the God RF taking the lead.
One of the most frustrating things in the game is when that bat or that skeleton is tanked for just long enough. An incredible amount of damage, not even evening up, as you said. God RF taking the lead. Now, he does need to adjust his defense. That is what he needs to do right now.
And this is the right thing to happen.
Yes.
I was talking before we got into that skeleton, that the God RF was being forced to play his tombstone to defend.
But it doesn't pull!
Gosh!
It doesn't pull! That's the second time today we have seen a building not pull the golem. And that does look like the correct placement, Rich.
And it does. It might have been that the Lumberjack pushed the golem to the outside and away, but now it's tower down. 20 seconds left. The God RF needs to defend here, and he will take the first game of King of the Hill.
And he will defend. You can see he's already BMing. He knows he's got it in the bag. Just save that barrel to clean up those skellies if necessary. You got the baby dragon there, and the God RF takes Fuji out.
And that's a huge swing from the challenge of 2v2 to opening up King of the Hill with a win. The God RF showing up in crunch time.
Maybe the biggest play, the strongest play from a barbarian and a skeleton duo ever, especially here at World Finals.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that was such a huge game changer. And we've talked about that, just little things stealing moments from you. And now, especially like as of late, a Dark Goblin, which you used to kind of be like, it's okay. Now a Dark Goblin might sneak across and steal things from you. The bat being tanked, a skeleton being tanked, and this was that big moment.
Look at that. It's just, there's nothing. And Fuji knows, he's like, I can't commit Elixir to defend. I don't want to waste a card. But maybe he should have put a Goblin Gang down. He needed to stop it. He needed to mitigate some of that damage. And then we got this missed Tombstone, Rich. Once again, as you said, I think the Lumberjack pushed it to the side, made it so that Golem still got to tower. Ended up not mattering, though.
Well, and again, that Tombstone, the deck construction here with the Skeleton Barrel and Golem, kind of a strange one, but I think part of it was to keep that Tombstone out of cycle so the Golem could get through.
Yeah, and you saw the better defense that second time. I mean, obviously the Tombstone did not pull. The Golem, the very first push from Fuji, getting to the tower, it looked as if that those interactions were going to repeat themselves, that Fuji would have taken a tower before the God RF did, but that's neither here nor there. The God RF coming out strong, shaking the hand, great sportsmanship from him and Fuji, and now Raiki Jones is coming back in, trying to battle back for his team. He does not want to go 0-3 in head-to-head play here at Finals, Rich.
That would be really, really rough, and of course you got to wonder what his mentality is like after that really difficult match he had against Royal. Can he come back here? And the God RF, you talk about momentum, has to be feeling really good right now.
100%. This is exactly what the God RF needed. After that first rough 2v2 set, this has got to keep him, this has got to have him riding high. And you know what? He did his job. We always say that. In King of the Hill, if you take out the first guy and you're the first guy, you've done your job. Now, obviously, if he takes out Raiki Jones here, he has done more than enough for his team. Raiki Jones needs to bounce back, and honestly, he needs to not play Royal Hogs.
Yeah, that's something he relied on a lot during the regular season, running Royal Hogs 6 times out of his 16 sets.
Yeah, if I know you're going to run Royal Hogs, they know you're going to run Royal Hogs, and that is not what you want here at CRL. You want to keep your opponents guessing. Royal ran a deck he's ran one time before. Seeing him play Lava Hound almost seemed like a mistake.
I was confused. I was like, wait, did Raiki's Lava Hound go to his side accidentally somehow?
Yeah, and of course, very, very heads-up play from these guys. The God RF doing a great job for Immortals. Needing that confidence, you see their team in the booth, or in their player care center, very, very focused.
And that man right there, could be up next for Immortals, depending on what RF does right now. And you see over there, Crab pointing over to his teammate, So we'll see if he's needed or if RF can keep running through. Of course, Ponos now feeling a little nervous.
I was just going to say, you've got to think that Ponos is feeling the pressure. Coming out with such a dominant play in 2v2, the definition of what teamwork is here at CRL. Now in King of the Hill, the other factor of teamwork at CRL is kind of struggling a little bit.
Very, very interesting here. Now, even, and this is the big part of it, is even if Reiki Jones can get the win here and can get through, oh yeah, he would have to face Royal again.
Yes, and that has got to be a rough person to see standing across from you again after that dominant display in the 1v1 set. Now, if it was just the first game and it was just the missed Barb Hut pull on the golem, that's one thing. But Royal kind of stomped all over him, as Ponos did to Immortals in the 2v2 set. So we're throwing blows back and forth, haymakers left and right, if you will.
Headphones going on, the players getting ready to step into the arena for game number 2 of King of the Hill. Getting the devices ready. A big breath here from Reiki Jones.
You see the pressure in his mind. You can see that he's feeling it. He's got his home crowd here. There's 1,000 people here watching, waiting, and wanting him to win. Let's get into game 2.
Game 2.
So, the good luck coming out from both players here. Reiki Jones, another big breath, and more of like a relaxed sigh from the God RF.
Oh, I'm sure he feels great right now. He knows that if he does lose this set, or this game, excuse me, he's done his job. He's done his work today. He showed up in 2v2, came out in King of the Hill, and there is a Furnace. Furnace has been coupled with Royal Giant a lot these days.
And he did run that one time during the regular season, so we could be seeing Furnace Royal Giant coming out from Reiki Jones, and with the Baby Dragon, really starts to feel that way.
Absolutely, and also with that NATO ban being in play, not able to pull that Royal Giant back, you basically just got the log to knock it back, Rich.
And is it possible that Royal's running the deck back here? And interesting, a Royal Giant played behind the King Tower.
Yeah, trying to create a big push, probably not wanting to commit too much on offense right now, seeing that he has a moment to kind of create a push and still able to play defense.
A nice pickup on the Prince there with the guards protecting that Royal Giant. So, and with the Tombstone being so low, this Royal Giant could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, really, really nice timing. But also another Tombstone comes into play. Great heads-up play there from the God RF. However, was it 2 shots coming down from that Royal Giant?
Down to 20-26, so yes, 2 shots from the Royal Giant. And now here we go, switching it up, the God RF going Lava Hound, which he played Lava Miner once during the regular season with a very similar construction.
This is the deck that Royal just ran.
There you go.
Yeah, and it worked out very, very well. A very unique deck, Rich. And you see an aggressive Royal Giant coming down, now knowing that that forces the God RF to play defense instead of sending in the miner like he wanted for those lava pups. A nice play by Reiki.
So we are 15 seconds away from our sudden death, or sorry, from our double elixir time, and right now the Inferno Dragon making its way across, although we do have a lot of elixir here for the God RF to start building his next offensive push.
Yeah, now knowing that he has to always keep that Tombstone in his hand for when that Royal Giant does come down. Not having a way to knock it back, though, means that he has to kill it as quick as possible.
And that Furnace causing some significant trouble here, requiring a number of responses from the God RF.
Yeah, those spawner buildings, if you don't have a good way to punish them, can be so frustrating throughout, basically making you always have an elixir disadvantage.
And Reiki choosing to go again, Royal Giant in the back. And maybe this is a difference in style of play from the Asian regions and American regions, because a lot of people in North America would say you don't play Royal Giant behind your King Tower.
Seems to be working out for Reiki right now, though, getting that shot in. 2 shots in from that Royal Giant. You see that miner coming down, but those pups are not actually on the Princess Tower. They're distracted by that Inferno Dragon. A late lightning, that will get the Mega Minion on the tower. Wow, nice pickup by Reiki Jones.
We are now 10 seconds away from sudden death overtime and only about 416 HP separating these 2 players.
It's just the problem here is that the God RF doesn't have a good enough way to stop, and that Inferno Dragon sizzling that Prince could be it, Rich.
Royal Giant does go down, still holding at 10-10 on the left-hand side here in overtime.
Really nice defense from the God RF there.
Baby Dragon, absolutely perfect, taking care of 3 units at once without the Prison's Tower. Very, very nice play.
10-10 to 14-26. Tombstone comes down to stop those spirits. Now, the Tombstone being played to have those skeletons stop the spirit means that now the Tombstone is out of cycle for the Royal Giant. So now the Royal Giant's going to work its way down. He's got to cycle back around to the Tombstone again, but that keeps it so it's hard for him to get the miner on that tower.
This is so tense right now, Andrew. You can feel the whole room starting to clench up as we now pass the first minute, pretty close here, of sudden death overtime, and the Royal Giant gets one shot off. That's a huge one.
Yep, and there's the miner on the tower. The pup's behind. That one pup is on the tower, but the baby dragon does clean it up. We are basically neck and neck here, Rich.
But now with two furnaces and a Royal Giant, so much coming down, a lot to deal with here. The God RF thirsting for Elixir, trying to play defense.
Oh, and that's going to be in, Rich. 2 shots in. That's a lightning away, and Reiki Jones bounces back, taking out the God RF, just having not enough responses to that big, beefy deck.
And that's got to feel great. Redemption for Reiki Jones here in King of the Hill after that tough performance in the 1v1 set, taking out the God RF. Of course, the God RF, we said, has done his job, has taken out one. Reiki Jones now, though, has done his job as well.
Yeah, I mean, taking that NATO out of play could have been the thing that kept the God RF from playing his love deck in Splash Yard. Also affects Royal's Golem deck. And you see here in that replay,
so those Inferno Dragon, not the ban card, obviously. It is 3 Musketeers, and you saw how effective that Inferno Dragon was playing defense for Reiki Jones.
yeah, not only did it take out the Prince, kill the tanks, obviously, and then, of course, it was taking for those pups a handful of times, being dropped right in the center when that Lava Hound popped.
And so now, we just saw Reiki Jones versus the God RF, and you can see the Lava Hound got down 3 times, but most of those card plays focusing on defense. Reiki Jones doing a good job of keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, the synergy between the Furnace and that Royal Giant creating a lot of pressure for a Tombstone, because the Tombstone was the best response to both of those cards, but you really ideally want to always keep the Tombstone in your hand for that Royal Giant. But on the other side of it, you need something to stop those Fire Spirits without having to commit a Baby Dragon every single time or a Mega Minion every single time. Really, really nice deck composition from Reiki Jones.
And now, oh yeah, stepping up to the plate for Immortals, and the question here is, what does he do in the situation? During the regular season, he basically ran 3 decks. He ran Graveyard, he ran 3 Musketeers Hog Rider, and he ran Royal Hogs in 2 different variations.
Yeah, that's one of the things about putting Oh Yeah in the King of the Hill set, is how do you game against him? He's also one of his favorite cards is a Hog Rider, one of the best decks. He's one of the best 2.6 players out there. He has his own variant of the 2.6 deck. I believe it's a 2.9 or a 3.1 that he plays. Very curious to see what he brings out against Reiki, and you see the smile on Reiki's face, feeling that win.
Yeah, that pressure off his shoulders has to feel great, and now, oh yeah, the man who pressure just falls right off his back. Can he be a hero again here against Reiki Jones and King of the Hill?
Yeah, I mean, there's really only one way to find out, but I love the confidence in Oh Yeah from Shua, from Trainer Luis, knowing that, like you said, he's so calm. He's so calm on the biggest stage in the world. And Rich, he never played a set. Or I mean, he only played 1 2v2 set in all of CRL.
Game 3.
King of the Hill, Game 3, Reiki Jones, top of your screen. Oh yeah, at the bottom. And the big question here is, will we see our first 2.6 and a little bit of BM out right early here from Oh Yeah.
And just to finish that side, he had only played 1 2v2 set and 4 games of King of the Hill in all of CRL NA. So a little bit of BM coming out. Got to think that he's maybe playing a beatdown deck, knowing that he's holding onto that Elixir. You see Reiki Jones here coming back to the Bandit, one of his favorite cards.
So Mega Minion to cycle early, and looks like that'll be going bridge spam from Reiki Jones, and now putting it on in the opposite lane, the Royal Giant from Oh Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting placement on that Royal Giant. He says the oops there, and now you see Reiki goes all in that left-hand lane with the Mega Knight, knowing that, okay, there's some guards. We need some ground troops to pick that up.
And now with just the Ghost, the Royal Ghost there on that Royal Giant doing a ton of work. That tower's down to 1264.
Yeah, very interesting opening from both of these guys. Now we got a Miner taking for that Royal Ghost, gonna get a bunch of hits in. The minions coming in. Oh Yeah has got to have a response. Maybe the E-Wiz?
We'll
no,
see.
excuse me, the E-Wiz was on Reiki Jones' hands.
And so now that tower's about to go down, 218, 134, and in spell range already.
And that's got to be a misplayed Furnace, Rich. He wants to go a tile down on that so that those Fire Spirits focused on the units on his Princess Tower. Now at 134 HP, that tower goes down, and that Furnace is just sitting out there for the picking.
But the Royal Ghost, as we reach the midway point, I mean, the Royal Giant can change everything in the blink of an eye. So we'll see if Oh Yeah can get himself back in this. He is also on a tower down, or tower behind on the left-hand side against Reiki Jones as well.
Yeah, and you see him now playing the Royal Giant behind the King Tower, trying to create a big push here, picking up that Bandit as it needed to do. He needs to get a good amount of damage or take this tower right now.
and now the Inferno Dragon to support. He knows that Miner. Oh, nice pickup here with the guards, forcing more commitment from his opponent.
Yeah, very nice pickup from the guards there. 2 shots in from that Royal Giant. A huge second shot with just a sliver of health, Rich.
Big shots, and that Inferno Dragon is safe to go after that Mega Knight as well right now. So this is a huge shift. Yes, the Electro Wizard does come down, but not before the Mega Knight really gets housed here.
A really nice lightning coming in. That E-Wiz did stop that Inferno Dragon. However, that Mega Minion's going to take that tower down.
And oh yeah, not nervous at all, and he picks up the Miner again!
And he gets the BM out, so Reiki Jones is forced to use a poison. Now, oh yeah, can Royal Giant up in the left-hand lane and create a big push. This has just taken a big swing in Immortal's favor.
You know, it looked like he was in trouble early on, but you said before, oh yeah, so calm, so cool, so collected, and right now playing so good.
And you know what? That BM, you've got to imagine, is making him more calm. It's a confidence builder for him, and we all know that we hate getting BM'd, and I'm sure it's getting to Reiki Jones, Rich.
And now he's probably back to a Royal Giant again. Yes, he is.
Look at that guard surround. Royal Giant in the pocket. An excellent heads-up play. Baby Dragon on the tower, taking for the Royal Giant. I believe Oh Yeah is going to take this game. Not right now, but he is out to a strong lead.
And he still does have the Elixir lead as well, so about a Royal Ghost in the pocket, this could change everything.
And a great bar barrel there to pick it up. Royal Giant taking for that. He's playing out of his mind right now.
The Royal Giant plays have been unorthodox and absolutely fantastic.
And I love that guard play on the other side of the river to sneak behind the E-Wiz. These are just phenomenal plays, and this is why Trainer Luis has so much faith in the young 16-year-old of Oh Yeah.
But the Royal Ghost barely picked up by the Furnace.
Oh, and that's a lot of elixir spent to not stop. That is going to be tower down. He knows it. He felt it. That Furnace was a misplay.
And that's going to be it. Poison down. Reiki Jones wins again.
Listen to that crowd, Rich. They are on their feet. They are electric. The BM's coming out early, and they are falling flat for Oh Yeah. And now it's back to Reiki Jones versus Royal. And hey, maybe Ash will get what he wants in Royal versus Miken Booyah.
Yeah, I mean, Pono's doing their best to make that happen right now. And so far, I mean, it looked like Oh Yeah had this thing sewn up. Looked like he was playing these brilliant Royal Giants, especially the one we saw earlier. But here is that big moment. There was just too much, and the Royal Ghost kind of clearing the way for everything.
It's really about those 2 Furnace plays. Those were 2 big misplays from the Furnace. You got the misplay early on with the Furnace being a little bit too high, allowing too much damage in on that right-hand Princess Tower. And then you've got the late Furnace being played, getting eaten up by the Mega Knight. Just too much elixir being spent to just play defense.
So there's a question. Would playing a cheaper troop back there to distract that earlier Mega Knight and then going OP Royal Giant in the pocket have been a way to keep pressure off his own side?
Yeah, I mean, it would have. I understand the idea behind that, but if you look at the deck composition of Oh Yeah here, he doesn't have a lot of responses to that Mega Knight, and that's really what Reiki Jones recognized early on, and he just kept the pressure up. Really, really nice play by Reiki. Really heads up, and honestly, again, great deck composition from Ponos.
Very fantastic work from the home team. And of course, the crowd has been loving it so far. Reiki Jones now in a very big position. He could sweep and be a hero for his country of Japan.
I mean, you're talking about heroes. Royal is the hero for Immortals right now, taking them to King of the Hill with that 1v1 set sweep, and now having to take out 2 players in Reiki Jones and, of course, their team captain, if you will, in Miken Booyah.
So it's going to be the replay of Royal versus Reiki Jones, and the question now is, does Royal go back to Golem, or does he again go to a deck he's played once or twice and throw you off?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, Rich. I mean, you'd think he wants to maybe play something. I mean, it worked, right? It worked against Reiki playing the Golem, but he also played a different deck. You got to think he's want to maybe save the surprise for Miken Booyah, because in his mind, he knows he has to beat Reiki. He has to play 2 more games.
And maybe he feels very confident against Reiki Jones, kind of having his number, so go back to what you know and just punish with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that Golem play was very, very strong early on. Reiki Jones not having the answers. Although, if that Barb Hut did pull that Golem, who knows what would have happened. Here we go, game number 3 of King of the Hill. Game number 4, I apologize.
Reiki Jones Jones, top of your screen one more time. Royal at the bottom, and now it's Reiki showing out a little bit of BM, a little bit of kissing there. You know, I don't know if I call, depends on the emote for opening, whether it's BM or not.
Yeah, exactly. In the opening, it definitely depends on what it is. Throughout the game, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, the later it gets, the more any emotes are BM, right?
Yes.
So, barrel. Two barbarians meeting.
One of the most fascinating cards in the game is the Bar Barrel, a card that wasn't used a lot when it came into the game, now in so many decks. Honestly, might have even replaced the Mega Minion as the most popular card in CRL.
And now doing his best to pick up, will not get that Battle Ram on tower, so Mega Minion Fire Spirits doing their job here.
And 2 swings from that little Barbarian takes that tower down to 2200 HP.
First minute down, action has been slightly slow, and here we are to the Barb Hut again. So the question now is, what is Reiki Jones running with this? Has he gone to the Barb Hut Ram 3M deck?
Is this a rematch of their first game?
Well, there were Royal Hogs in that deck. You think he's doing Royal Hogs again?
Probably not with that Battle Ram. I hope not.
Yeah, that'd be a lot, right?
And then Royal, you got to think, is just going to do it. He's just going to play his Golem.
Yeah, it does look a lot like Golem. Of course, the same deck construction has been played with Royal Giant,
yes,
as we've seen been talked about beforehand. Both of those, though, that Barb Hut creates a lot of problems.
And you think that Reiki feels that it is probably going to be Golem, trying to keep up a ton of pressure in counter lane. Splitting that pressure is one of the most frustrating things as a Golem player, to deal with dual lane pressure. Very, very hard to create that big push that you want.
So now entering into double elixir time, will we see Royal Golem up for the first time here?
There it is, because the Inferno Dragon's out of cycle, Rich. That's exactly why, and that's probably why you said that.
So Inferno Dragon getting taken care of, and that Barb Hut starting to go a little bit lower here. Are we expecting that it's lightning again for that big spell?
And now you see 4 Barbarians, the Barbarians coming down the left-hand lane, and look at the right. Look at that. That is going to be a lot for Royal to deal with. The Inferno Dragon back on top of that Golem. This is more so what I think Reiki Jones expected that first game to go like.
You know, I'm wondering if we're not going to see 3 Musketeers. If this is that Barbarian deck that we saw.
The 3 Musketeers is banned, I believe.
Yes. Banned, so we're not seeing it. So yeah, so this is the super Barb deck that we saw during the seeding tournament that seemed like it had a lot of good usage when you're playing single lowest tower rules.
Yeah, very, very fascinating. Its win condition essentially being that Battle Ram. And then Battle Ram Minion Horde, one of the strongest pushes in the game. A huge elixir commitment in 9 elixir, but very, very strong. And knowing that Royal's defense to those is the Fire Spirits and the Baby Dragon.
Wow, that was some great defense with the pickup, and now a lot. The Lumberjack down on that left-hand tower, down to under 500.
Yeah, and 500 HP on that tower. That is going to be a lightning away now. Get the lightning down, as we said the first time, and this should be GG. There it is.
There we are, and Ash, you have your wish. We're going to be going to Royal versus Meek and Booyah for everything.
Game 5, match 1. This is what it's all about. I could not be more excited to be here at World Finals, Rich, and what a way to start the day.
And that Barbarian hut that we saw, the quad play designed to try to play a lot of defense and get a little bit of damage to win out in single tower does not work here.
And you look at this replay here at the very end, that Lumberjack coming in, getting picked up by those Barbarians. However, enough damage coming down on that tower. Royal did not give up. What really was the story of this, though, was the incredible defense he played about 20 seconds before this in the right-hand lane with the Mega Minion, I believe, and the Tombstone stopping that big push from Reiki Jones. So Reiki Jones is 0-3 against the Romanian.
And those Fire Spirits as well. Such a cheap way to take care of a Minion Horde.
Absolutely. The Minion Horde eaten up by Fire Spirits. You already sold me out earlier. I'm a Mortar Bait player, and those Fire Spirits destroy the Minion Horde. Such a great positive trade for Royal, and that's what you want. When you're playing Golem, you need those big positive elixir trades so that you have that advantage to Golem up. Royal, again, showing everyone why he is considered one of the best, if not the best, in the world.
If you're not excited right now, you're not a fan of Clash Royale, because here we are, Game 5, everything on the line, and 2 of the biggest players on the planet going head-to-head. again. And Mikan Booyah, the smile's not there anymore. I wonder if the pressure's starting to be felt here.
I mean, I feel the pressure for Mikan. You see Royal and the God RF there talking at the podiums, probably trying to figure out what exactly the best deck composition is to go up against Mikan Booyah, who has been, you know, he ran Golem a handful of times, he ran Minor Balloon a handful of times, he ran Royal Hogs the most, actually, Royal Hogs being his favorite archetype. I don't think, if I'm Mikan Booyah, I want to play Golem against Royal.
You know, I'm expecting Mikan Booyah to maybe go the minor direction with that tornado ban and trying to just go heavy on the defense, do his best to stop the Golem in its tracks and try to chip away.
Yeah, maybe he goes minor Lava Hound. That seems like a good response to Royal's deck. And then, obviously, to finish my point there about playing Golem against Royal, him being one of the best in the world, when you are that good with a certain archetype, you know how to punish against that archetype. Mikan Booyah does not want to put himself in that position, Rich.
Well, the position he's in is already stressful enough. A win now sends you to semifinals, a loss sends you home.
Yep, and you can look on the right side of your screen there. Pono's taking that 2v2 set. Immortals taking the 1v1. We got an Immortals win, and then 2 Ponos wins, and then, of course, Royal taking that 4th game in King of the Hill. It all comes down to this. Game 5, King of the Hill. This is what it's all about, man.
And King Zone Dragon X has to be watching this very carefully. They must be as nervous as everyone else in the room because they're about to find out who they will face in the semifinals.
And I don't want to face Royal. If I'm anyone in this room, I don't want Royal to be standing across from me at that podium.
Sorry, Vivo Keed is sitting there. Yeah, Vivo Keed sitting there watching who will we face in those semifinals. And honestly, either way, it feels really rough.
Here we go. Game 5, King of the Hill, match 1. Have we said it enough? World Finals.
World Finals.
King of the Hill, Game 5.
It all comes down to this. 3 to 6 minutes to decide your squad's fate. Was this just a short vacation in Japan, or was this a chance to win glory for your team, for your region, and for yourself?
And you see right there, Royal wiping the sweat off of his hands, Mikan Booyah adjusting his jacket. Both of these guys feeling the pressure, and an immediate dual lane push here coming from Mikan Booyah, probably expecting once again Royal to be playing his go-to, the Golem.
And it is Balloon, so the question, and it is Minor Balloon.
Yep, of course, Minor Balloon. That was the only other deck it probably could have been. Minor Lava Hound or Minor Balloon from Mikan Booyah. And that is a balloon on the tower, a very big balloon on the tower.
And Rascals on the left-hand side as well. Mikan Booyah taking tower early on.
I don't know what just happened there from Royal. He feels it. He's looking down. He has got to be frustrated, but that's what you got to bounce back. You got to let that tower go, and you've got to commit hard on the left-hand lane.
And that was a very early tombstone played from Royal, and I'm wondering if that's what Mikan Booyah saw and took advantage.
Absolutely. I mean, you see that there's nothing there to pull that balloon. The Baby Dragon is the best response in the air. Look at the rest of his cards. He's got a Mega Minion and a Prince. That is devastating to Immortals.
And if Royal's playing Lava Minor here, that's going to be a very, very challenging deck to kind of fight back with here with just 90 seconds left.
And you figure the lightning was going to come down. However, we got another big push here coming, or a counter push here coming in the sense from the Rascal and the Bat. Wow. Yep, I was going to say the Minor's got to come in and tank for all this. Royal has to commit everything to defense, and that's not what you want when you're playing a beatdown deck, is to be spending all your elixir on defense.
Nice job, though, with the pickup, but Royal in a ton of trouble here. Left-hand tower down to 924. Also a tower down. We're going to double elixir time, and Royal has a ton of work to have any hope of sending Immortals to semifinals.
And we talked a lot about the pressure in King of the Hill. Royal does get anxious when he's playing. He's 3-2 overall in King of the Hill, not counting today. Mikan Booyah, however, 5-1.
And there's an early tombstone from Royal there, and Royal already giving the good game this early on.
Yeah, he knows it. He can feel it. And honestly, Rich, I think he's right. I really do. That first interaction, that very first push, that masterful push from Mikan Booyah earlier on, splitting the Rascals, supporting the Solar Rascal Girl with the Ice Golem, then the Minor, then the Balloon, just brutal.
Minor coming in on the Golem, trying to find some way to do something here. 24 seconds left, but Mikan Booyah seems to be just 20 seconds away from sending his squad to semis.
Yeah, no way, no how, my friend. I mean, Royal here showed up very, very strong for his team, doing so much, but you can't do it all. You really can't, and that is going to be it for the North American champions. Immortals are sent on their way home. They got to pack their bags. Better luck next year, my friends.
And the Japanese crowd goes wild in support of Ponos Esports.
Everyone is on their feet. The home season, doing what they do best. King of the Hill, Game 5, first match goes to Pono Sports.
Wow, that is unbelievable. And you know, this felt like one of the early matches that had so much fire to it. And of course, it delivered going to the final game of King of the Hill. But it was this early on, just the tombstone out of cycle. Meek and Booyah seeing it wasn't there, and not a lot there. Also, remember the Mega Minion was out of cycle as well, so 2 defenses for that balloon not available to defend.
Yeah, Meek and Booyah recognized that. Maybe a bit of an overcommittal by Royal early on, or honestly, maybe just a bad starting hand. He was not able. If you have a bad starting hand, you got to cycle. You got to cycle through to create the push or the defense that you want, and it just wasn't there for Royal. So Immortals, once again, the amazing team, one of the most charismatic, one of the most enjoyable teams to watch in all of the world. Their journey ends here at CRL.
But the journey is just beginning for Pono Sports. They will have Vivo keyed in the semifinals. That will be a huge matchup, and one they probably really like going into for a shot at the finals.
And you look at that, Rich, that balloon was only played one time, and that's all it needed. It only needed to come down just that once. A great minor tank, and we are on to match number 2.
Don't you hold it back, don't fight it. I said, hey, we just wanna play. Don't care what they say.
Introducing the Pixel 3 from Google as our official device for the Clash Royale League World Final Tournament. You just saw Pono Sports and Immortals going to war with the Google Pixel 3, and that'll be our device throughout the entire tournament.
And you might have also seen that loot drop in the top left-hand side of your screen, guys. That's a drop of 10 gems. Guys, 10 gems, that's a free Classic Challenge. Hey, that's a first step to get into the CRL World Finals, right, is getting that 12-win Classic Challenge. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure your Supercell ID is linked right now to get the next drop or that drop.
And talking about coming up next, we are minutes away from our second quarter final match. As you can see, Pono Sports moving on to the semifinals against Vivo Key. We will see that a little bit later, and you know, we'll talk about that matchup, a fascinating one, especially with the hindrances Vivo Key has coming into it. But right now, we're going to Team Queso versus Kingzone Dragon X.
Absolutely, Team Queso being the dominant force in the European region, not really ever falling from that top spot. KZDX battling throughout the season. Really curious to see what happens here in 2v2 play. These teams, KZDX has been known to have about the same rate, or the same percentage of 2v2 plays from all of their players, whereas, you know, with Team Queso, it's also the same story. They switched up their 2v2 duo all throughout the season, and they had a ton of success.
So Queso trotting out Kuchiku and Benny-Hu, who are a very talented duo. Across from them, it's going to be Big Daddy and July, who have been the best 2v2 duo, kind of by far, it feels like, for KZDX.
Yes, absolutely. And now you see that Electro Dragon ban, as Ash said before. You either play it, you ban it, or you throw in a Lightning. So we got the E-Drag out, we got the P.E.K.K.A. out. I'm thinking we're going to see some beatdown, Rich.
It seems very, very likely with those two cards off the board. And you see here 2v2, really great work from Queso all season. Kingzone Dragon X, this is where they struggle, and a big part of why they're here is because despite their 2v2 struggles, they got here with the back of Expo Master.
Yes, Expo Master being their really, really strong head-to-head player. Putting him in the 2v2 set earlier in the season, or throughout the season, honestly, I was kind of surprised by that. I think that you should always save him for the 1v1. He is so hard to game against. He is so hard to strategize against. You see us talking about him right now. Expo Master, the interesting story from this, Rich, is that Soking is not in the lineup today.
Soking did have a little bit of trouble, of course, during that round-robin seeding tournament, and just give him a break. But here's the great part about Queso, is even though your star player, your best player, not going to be in for this match, you have so many, you have Benihou, Kuchiku, St. Belican, Anthony, so many quality guys who throughout the season rotated roles effectively.
I mean, you look at all of their win rates, you look at their games played and their games won and lost, and they all have very, very strong records. I mean, even someone in Anthony who's never lost a 2v2 set isn't even in this 2v2 set. So Benihou and Kuchiku being their best 2v2 duo in their minds, gonna throw most likely Belican into that 1v1. I'm not sure what we're gonna expect here, Rich. You saw those vastly different styles of gameplay in the first match between Ponos and Immortals. What do you think? I mean, I can't even ask you that because that's not really fair. It's just going to be fascinating to see how different their styles play and how they match up, because Immortals' difference in style against Ponos did not match up well.
Well, the big difference there was I think Immortals thought that Ponos would play in what has been the traditional sort of Asian style of 2v2 for that region,
right,
which was a lot more defense, a lot more spell cycle, a lot of rocket NATO, and Ponos, in a very brilliant move, totally juked. So the question here is, does Kingzone Dragon X do something similar and go, look, you think we're going to play this way because that's how we did it in the regular season? We're going to come out with a totally new look.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That's one of the things that they've had. That's one of the great strengths of Team Queso, is they hit their best duo until they got to playoffs. They dominated with it. And then right here, right now, this is the moment. This is the moment for Benihou and Kuchiku to just really establish themselves as 2v2. The interesting thing, though, is moving forward in the tournament, they can change that up because of that power they have as a team.
Yeah, any of their players can go anywhere. So while we're not seeing Soking in this moment, we might see him in another. It's going to be all over the place, and that's part of the power of the way that their coaches have developed that squad.
Yes, between the three of them, you got Furrier, Mad Raider, and of course Teramispa. These guys work so well together, always convincing. As Furrier said, or as we talked about before, Furrier makes them convince him of every move they make after they meet up with each other, and convince each other of every move to make. There is a three-step process every time a decision is made. You talk about that for analysts, you talk about a psychologist on the team. It's fascinating how much they put in to the support of their players.
And there you see Mad Raider in the middle standing by with Soking. Of course, so much on the line for everybody here, but they definitely feel confident, and it comes from the top down of that organization.
100%. And you know, Furrier was nice enough to meet with us and kind of talk to us about all of that. And now this is the moment. It paid off all season long in the EU. Will it pay off here at World Finals, Rich?
So now we're seeing Queso's translator up on the stage, so wondering if there's some sort of issue going into this game. You see Kuchiku kind of gesticulating a little bit, so we're wondering what the communication issue here is with the referee.
Okay, I just gotta geek out for a second. Look at that stage, man.
Oh, it is so cool.
We haven't even talked about how amazing this arena is and what Supercell has done for these World Finals. I'm blown away. I'm a kid. I just feel like a kid again.
It looks so darn cool. The moment we saw it, we both totally flipped. And again, it's that stage itself, all the fun stuff, the LEDs giving us such a bright, fantastic feel to the room, and I love how close and tight everyone is in here.
I love the intimacy. You can feel the energy from the fans, from the players. You can feel it all. It is absolutely amazing. The energy in this room, as you said, is palpable, and I'll be honest with you, I guarantee you, Team Queso is probably feeling the pressure after seeing their friends in Immortals, you know, since they played in the same building, going down so quickly in 2v2 when that was their strength.
Well, also, I think seeing Ponos kind of go out of what was expected from them. And so here you spent so much time preparing for a team. You come here to the World Finals, and suddenly they do something you just 100% didn't plan for. That has to give Team Queso a little bit of pause going up against Kingzone Dragon X.
Yeah, and we talk about Team Queso here in their 2v2. You know, Benihou being 10-10 in games played, 4-4 in sets won. On the other side of that, you got Kuchiku, who's 5-1 in sets won in 2v2, and of course 11-3 in games played. very, very strong record there. Benny Hu was mainly paired with St. Bellican throughout the season, Rich.
And now both teams sending up representatives to confer with their players, so we'll find out what's going on here in a moment. I expect we'll get to the game action very soon. And now, yeah, you do see Benny Hu putting his headset on as well as Kuchiku, so we'll find out here in just a few minutes. And also, we do have the interpreters for Kingzone Dragon X on stage as well to help the Korean team sort out through these issues.
And if that first match showed us and told us anything, Rich, it is how important that 2v2 set is. You really, on this stage, you really need to set the confidence for your team. You need to build on that throughout, because if you get to King of the Hill, you need your players to not have the jitters. You need them to not be rattled.
So we just saw Anthony and St. Bellican on one side. There is Expo Master, the mad genius, and I would compare him in many ways to those of you who watch North America, to OP Sam. Both of them are tinkerers. They're both kind of geniuses when it comes to deck construction.
Kind of geniuses.
I mean,
Come
yes,
on now.
Absolute geniuses when it comes to deck construction. And yeah, so if you're familiar with the North American region and OP Sam from TSM, Expo Master, the same thing, but in some ways even crazier with what he does.
I mean, he ran a deck at the seeding tournament that I've never seen before. It was like a quick cycle deck with the mirror, with the hog, with the princess. It was absolutely fascinating, and he was kind enough to speak with us and tell us that the reason that he does that is to throw off his opponents. I mean, that seems pretty obvious, but the level in which he does it is what is so impressive.
It does make him a bit risky, though, at certain times, so we'll get into that more when we move on to 1v1, but up next it is 2v2. Big Daddy and July paired for Kingzone Dragon X in 2v2, and July took a 5-2 set record in 2v2, 11 games wins and 9 losses. Big Daddy split it all the way down the middle in the regular season.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. You got July and Kuchiku have these dominant 2v2 set records, and then you got Benny Hu and Big Daddy who have just right at 500 set 2v2 set records.
Kingzone Dragon X taking 3rd place in the first season of CRL Asia, but coming out on top this season, and of course a big part of that has been them figuring out their 2v2 rhythm and relying, of course, on Expo Master.
You know, one of the great things about Kuchiku that we talked to him about in the season and his coaches is that he doesn't tilt. And for you guys that don't know that terminology or that verbiage, it basically just means he doesn't let the game get to him. If he has a bad matchup, if he makes a misplay, he is always in it. He can always bounce back. And that's one of the things that separates him, and probably one of the reasons why he's in this opening 2v2 set, Rich, maybe to bring some calm to his team.
So necessary. I mean, we've seen how much nerves can affect you already today, and now here we are, St. Bellican giving a little peace sign there, and he's a guy who looks nervous all the time, but never is actually nervous.
No, he's very, very calm, and if he does have nerves, he figures out a way to mitigate or manage it. Now, early on in the season, he realized that he didn't like to be the anchor in King of the Hill. He likes to kick off King of the Hill, and then he started to dominate in it. So one of those things where you got to recognize who you are as a player, and you got to adjust accordingly.
So still getting the issue sorted out. We'll be with the game action in just a moment, and still the interpreter trying to figure something out. You can see Benny Hu and Kuchiku both a little bit concerned about something, maybe with something that they didn't like they saw earlier.
And it looks like they might be okay now, hopping into the game. No. Yep.
I think we are okay. Thumbs up all around, so we should have our action coming in just a moment. The referees doing their best to make sure everything runs smoothly. Every player is ready to rock. And we'll be getting into this in just a couple of moments. And you can see, now you see the relaxation. There you go, Team Queso. Giving a little cheers there with their mugs. Look at the stylistic difference. Team Queso, so outgoing. Kingzone Dragon X, so reserved and focused.
Yes, absolutely. And that's been the story of Team Queso the whole season. You've seen it in the EU. You see the difference in personalities all across the world. And you know what? You got to do what works for you. If you need to be calm, you need to have fun, you need to play around with your teammates to alleviate the stress of the situation, then do it. Doesn't matter if it's the World Finals. Doesn't matter if you're in Japan. Do what works for you.
And there are so many stress management techniques, of course. And here we are, 2v2.
Two v two. Game 1.
Game number 1 of 2v2. Benny Hu and Kuchiku at the top of your screen. Big Daddy and July for Kingzone Dragon X at the bottom of your screen. And just to remind you guys, we can see the cards played, the elixir leaked, and how much health is on those towers combined.
And Dart Goblins who open up, met by the Mega Minion. And a little ha-ha there for July.
Yeah, very interesting, odd placement on that Dart Goblin, Rich.
You gotta wonder what the thought process was there, and now building from the back with the baby dragon on the right-hand side here for Team Queso.
Early poison coming in to clean up that tombstone makes me think they want to get to that tower with a big card quickly, whether it's a Royal Giant, maybe a Battle Ram.
Well, a slight difference here from our last 2v2 match is both teams making sure to get spell value and tower damage value from their spells very early.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was kind of, like you said, didn't really show up in that first match. Just a very aggressive kind of onslaught throughout the game. And as soon as you see the Giant Skeleton, obviously, and we talked about that tombstone going down early on, you got to think it's going to be Royal Giant.
And it is both Asia region teams running Giant Skeleton, Royal Giant early in this tournament.
And Rich, you talked to me a little bit about the mini P.E.K.K.A, didn't you? About before the game.
Yeah, the mini P.E.K.K.A does not really show up a lot in North America for 2v2 and didn't do a lot in Europe, but it's been very popular in the Asian region. And so here's kind of surprised to see it from Team Queso, not surprised to see it from Kingzone Dragon X.
Yeah, and that Inferno Dragon, not the way that they wanted it to go. I mean, that Inferno Tower, not the way they wanted to play. They needed to take out that Dark Goblin. The Dark Goblin still on the field, still getting so much value. You can't let those units like that stay on the board that long.
And finally, the poison stops it, but too little, too late. And now it's Queso's turn to go Royal Giant in the right-hand lane.
And there's that NATO, since it is not banned, taking that Royal Giant away from the tower, but it does still get a shot in.
Reminder, your bans are Electro, Dragon, and P.E.K.K.A. Not available for any of our potential 3 games here in this 2v2 set.
That Dark Goblin, a very high Giant Skeleton. Once again, that's a misplay right there. You want the Dark Goblin to cross the river and then the Giant Skeleton to pick it up.
So Giant Skeleton not going to get across the river as well. And that Lumberjack nearly escaped. Nice job, Royal Giant picking it up from Kingzone Dragon.
Yeah, really, really nice Royal Giant there. Great spell value as well coming in for KZDX.
And here's where they like the mini P.E.K.K.A against these Royal Giants. An inexpensive response to that big card.
And they got 2 mini P.E.K.K.As there on the field, it looked like.
The Royal Giant does a little damage, but not a ton, but we are pretty much neck and neck as we enter into sudden death overtime.
And you see here with KZDX, they definitely have a bit of an advantage in spell damage here with that lightning and the poison. On top of the screen there, you got 2 fireballs.
So we will see. I mean, we could be getting into a spell cycle situation, and that lightning is huge now, down to 647.
And we talked a lot about that early on in the season, Rich. Actually, throughout the season, the team that recognizes that spell cycling is the way to go once they get below 1,000 HP, the first ones to start cycling those spells is usually the one to come out on top. And now you see all they need is a poison to come down and another lightning. They just need to make sure they conserve their elixir long enough and they're not caught wanting on defense.
And this Royal Giant, if it can get on tower, it could create some range for a spell cycle.
Oh, there it is.
Ready.
A huge play.
Second fireball in, and that should be it. Queso takes game number 1 from behind.
Wow, that spell cycle. I mean, we talked about it. Maybe KZ started to do that spell cycle just a little bit early on, not having the elixir. They needed right there to stop that with their lightning. Maybe a bit of a misplay. Actually, definitely a misplay.
Queso taking advantage and staying confident to put that Royal Giant and go, look, we know this is how we're going to win, and they executed perfectly.
And you see this is one of the earlier Royal Giant pushes that was stopped pretty well by Kingzone. Still getting a decent amount of damage in, and here's that huge push at the end. The fireball comes in to clean up anything else that's left on the field. Right now, Kingzone is wishing they had that lightning.
Yeah, that was a huge moment there, and you see here, just a little bit of a spell elixir difference, and usually you go, oh, you spend a little bit more on spells, maybe a bit more damage here, but in this case, Kingzone Dragon X maybe overspending on those big spells and not having enough to stop those Royal Giant pushes.
And the fascinating thing about that is 13 elixir more spent on spells, but you look at the leaked elixir from Team Queso, 5 elixir, that's a fireball. That's a missed fireball right there. However, they did a great job mitigating that. Let's get into game number 2.
cannot wait for December 12th when Supercell's new 3v3 game comes out, Brawl Stars. The action is fast and furious, and I couldn't help but play a little bit this morning, Andrew, before we came in for the World Finals.
I'm so jealous that you're playing and I am not. Something's happening. I need to talk to somebody. I am not enjoying that. However, those loot drops I am enjoying. Keep your eyes on the screen for those guys and link your Supercell ID to YouTube to claim those rewards.
And no more jealousy needed, Andrew, because guess what? We're both here at World Finals. We're both seeing the best in the world go head-to-head and try to take each other out. So I think that you're winning pretty well here today.
All right, fine. What an impressive first game from both of these teams. Honestly, neck and neck the entire time. Their two playstyles kind of evenly matched. The P.E.K.K.A not being in play, the mini P.E.K.K.A, as you said, coming in and doing so much work for Kingzone Dragon X, but was not enough to stop those Royal Giant pushes.
You know, we talked a lot about that idea that the Asian region tended to focus more on spell cycle. The rocket cycle was huge for a long time, both in CRL Asia and CRL mainland China. And in this case, that focus seemed to backfire.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say it again. I believe that early lightning there to try to start spell cycling out, it has paid off before, but they needed to do about 3 sets of spell cycling to take that tower out. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time for Team Queso to build a big Royal Giant push as they did.
And you're trying to get back to not a 4 elixir card, but a 6 elixir card. And there's St. Bellican being like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm so relaxed. I'm taking a quick nap here.
I mean, hey, he's most likely going to be the guy that's coming into that 1v1 set, so he needs to do whatever he can to keep his calm.
So 2v2 game number 2 about to get underway, and you know, with how calm and collected Kingzone Dragon X is, I can't tell if it's a look of concern or a look of, hey, it's just another Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's only game 1, and they can change up their deck pool right now. They can see what Team Queso came out with and adjust. That's one of the things about all these teams, especially Queso and Kingzone. You got to adjust. After game 1, you got to see what your opponent comes out with and now how to take advantage of it. So here we go.
2v2, game 2.
And here we go. Kuchiku sending out the kissy face, not the patented Kuchiku goblin emote.
Yeah. Kuchiku! Oh, and everyone's favorite free emote.
And making his first appearance here, so maybe also see possibly some E-barbs right behind that one.
And that Lumberjack coming in, trying to get on top of that Inferno Tower. Really nice play there from Team Queso, just kind of sneaking by.
And the Dark Goblin support there was huge as well, getting that tower down a little faster and helping an early lead come out here for Team Queso, but now they have so much coming down that right-hand lane to contend with.
And there's that high mini P.E.K.K.A to take care of the Giant Skeleton. Look at the order of operations in which Team Queso is playing that defense. That was perfection, Rich.
And well, that's communication, and you can see Benny Hu and Kuchiku have been playing together so much. This is the 2v2 duo that Queso believes might be the best in the world.
Which is fascinating, because we only saw them once over in the EU region. They saved it all the way to playoffs, and they only played in the finals in EU because they had first and second round buys.
I mean, this is a wall right now so far from Team Queso. They are not letting much happen get on the board here for Kingzone Dragon X.
And I know it was a really simple interaction, but to those boys back in the replay booth who are doing a great job for us at the desk, that very first Inferno Tower that was played, I'd love to go back and just look at that small interaction. That Lumberjack came in, and that is the reason why half the tower is missing for Kingzone.
And this time you see the difference here, that Inferno Tower doing its job and stopping the Royal Giant push.
Because it's a 5 elixir card, Rich. You know, that's a very expensive card to kind of just throw away.
And here we go. So now it's Royal Giant, Giant Skeleton, and Lava Hound all together and doing a ton of damage to the right-hand side.
Everything is taking for that Royal Giant. What an incredible play there by Kingzone Dragon X.
What an incredible turn. As we go into double elixir time, suddenly it's Kingzone Dragon X in at a very important lead.
Lava Hounds tanking for Royal Giants is not something we saw a lot in the NA and EU regions, but working out very, very well here for Kingzone.
And this time, opting not to pick up that Royal Giant with the Inferno Tower, just going with troops, and that for that, not a ton of damage here, so very nice discipline from Kingzone Dragon X.
And you saw those high mini P.E.K.K.As being played across the river by Kingzone to clean up all the support troops behind the Royal Giant and also come back and stab him in the back.
So here we are, 30 seconds left. The Lumberjack trying to get the tower quickly enough, and those guards doing a good job picking up. And here we go. This is the interaction. Can this Royal Giant get past this Inferno Tower and get damage on that right-hand side. No, it will not. King Zone Dragon X coming from behind to take game number 2.
That is what it's all about. Best in the world, evening up 1-1 here in this very first set of match number 2. King Zone Dragon X takes it from Team Queso.
We're going to game number 3, and you gotta love the mid-game adjustments from the Korean squad.
Yeah, and a little bit of BM there at the end. I don't know what it is about the Goblin emotes, but I believe that he is the most toxic of all the BMs.
Very possible. I like the well played before it's over. That's the one that always hurts me the most.
That's one of the worst. So here we go. That Lumberjack coming in and taking out that Inferno Tower. You see that Royal Giant has a ton of health, and the Dark Goblin behind, just way too much DPS on the field.
But this was the opposite direction, and just so much going on at once, and the defense being forced to focus on the major troops, nothing being around to take care of those pups at the end.
It was fascinating because the idea here is that the Lava Hound's tanking for the Royal Giant, right? And then as soon as the the Lava Hound pops, the Royal Giant is then tanking for the pups. It's fascinating.
All right, so we are going to be going to game number 3 here of King Zone Dragon X versus Benny Who for 2v2. And really, it's just been fantastic seeing the shifts in styles. And again, it's that mid-game adjustment for King Zone Dragon X that meant everything.
Yeah, really, really well played there. And again, I just love the synergy between the Lava Hound and the Royal Giant. Really, really genius play. Again, I'm just going to say it one more time because I kind of stumbled before. Lava Hound is tanking for the Royal Giant. Then the Lava Hound pops, and those pups come out, but then the Royal Giant is tanking for the Lava Hound's pups. Amazing, amazing offense there. And you saw Team Queso just really didn't have a response.
Yeah, and it looked like you saw there was a ton of elixir, I think, for Kuchiku at that moment. He was about 7 or 8, but just nothing in his hand at that moment that could stop it.
And we've all been there, right? You see this big push coming down, you're like, do I do this? Do I do that? And then all of a sudden it's on your tower.
Yeah,
and you're
done.
a second too late. Yeah. And it happens to the best in the world.
Well, one more game to decide this set. The winner will give his squad a very important advantage. Remember, we are best of 3 sets here for the quarterfinals. We'll be going best of 5 once we reach those finals.
Yeah, and that best of 5 changes everything. That changes who you put in the 2v2, who you put in the first 1v1. But right now, this is the tried and true thing that we over in NA and EU had all season long. You got to come out strong in the 2v2 set, take it, and then put your best player in 1v1.
And you got to wonder if King Zone Dragon X pulls this thing out, having that cushion for a creative player like Expo Master gives him even more opportunity to kind of play in a way that you don't expect.
That is an incredible point, Rich. It does create that cushion for him to try something absolutely insane in his 1v1 set.
It's be funny when he comes out and just plays straight meta.
He just comes out with Golem Beatdown, E-Drag, Of course, he's listening to us. All right, here we go. Game number 3, 2v2 on its way.
2v2 Game 3.
Good luck coming out early and a little laughter here. King Zone Dragon X might not be so outgoing in person, but they certainly love their fingers in those emotes.
I just feel like the Goblin's laughing at me. Every single time, specifically, he's laughing at me.
Stop laughing at me, Goblin! And again, early poison value on that tower.
Yep, and zap value on the opposite.
And looks like maybe King Zone Dragon X feeling pretty good about what happened last time.
You look at the top right hand of your screen, you see 3.3 elixir leaked from the player in Kuchiku. And 3.6 in the bottom right, so those guys must be holding the heavier cards, maybe the more offensive cards. Or, excuse me, defensive cards, playing response.
So here we are, baby dragons in both lanes and doing a fantastic job on defense in both sides here. It is King Zone Dragon X with a slight lead as the first minute of play goes by, but just a slight lead, and now the first big push here on the left-hand lane.
Yep, and that is a great Inferno Tower to pull that Royal Giant, even with the lightning coming in. The distance there, really, really nice pull. That is the most perfect placement for where that Royal Giant was.
And that Inferno Tower mini P.E.K.K.A combination against Royal Giant is so hard to get past.
Yeah, and that zap actually was a really, really nice zap, making Team Queso commit even more elixir to that defense of the mini P.E.K.K.A.
You said Lumberjack sneak through just a little bit, get its rage spell down, and do a little bit of work there on those guards, and that's a huge play there, down to 1096.
Yeah, and only 7 elixir in the hands of Team Queso, but it doesn't matter. Kingzone does not have a push coming in. A really, really fortunate turn of events there, as you said, with that Lumberjack.
But this is what we just saw last game. It was Team Queso getting an early lead and the mid-game adjustments of Big Daddy and July to take it back.
And this is interesting. These guys are running. I mean, it's just basically Royal Giants back and forth, and they don't seem to want to change things up. They probably just want to change the way in which they play the Royal Giants.
Now that lightning did a lot of damage, but not quite enough to stop the baby dragons. The tornado has to come in to support as well. Although now it is Kingzone Dragon X taking the lead, but do they have enough to defend this Royal Giant push in the opposite direction?
And that Lumberjack is going to do its job, raging everything up.
And also, look, the guard picking up the first shot from the Inferno Tower. Can that Royal Giant get one on that left-hand side? Yes, it does. Down to 758 as we are 30 seconds away from sudden death.
Yes, and this is where it becomes really, really dangerous, Rich, with that spell cycle. You feel it, right? It's taunting you. You want to start throwing spells down, but you have to make sure you're getting value.
And the tornado does enough to stop, and that's a beautiful bit of spell value there from that fireball, just as you said it, Andrew.
Absolutely, you gotta stay patient like that, and the same thing with Kingzone Dragon X. Seeing that tombstone come down, now they have a way to play that poison without just a negative elixir trade.
And the guard's not able to get through in front of those Lumberjacks, and that Lumberjack did take care of the Royal Giant. Now, a little bit coming the opposite direction, but right now it feels like Team Queso might have the momentum.
It is neck and neck. Get the lightning and the fireball down. There it is.
That is it! Team Queso takes game number 3 of 2v2.
And that is it. Game number 3 down. First set goes to Team Queso in the European Championships. The European Champions, excuse me. These guys do not really know what it feels like to lose, honestly.
Yeah, they have just been on fire all season, and have to finish that 2v2 set with some more fire in that fireball, closing things out, and that was really a masterful performance from Kuchiku and Benny Hu.
And you love that quick recognition, right? You see all of a sudden it's right there in spell range, ignore everything else and get a lightning and a fireball.
And here we go, take a look at that replay, and the lightning almost felt a little bit early there, but instead it works out fine. This is that beautiful defense there of the big combination, but here we go. Moving towards the end, things getting so close, and this fireball that we just cut away from, about to take out that Ice Wizard, that fireball might have been the difference.
Yeah, and you see right there, Kingzone was so close to taking that left-hand Princess Tower of Team Queso, those spells coming down just in time.
And now we're heading into 1v1, a big-time matchup. And to give some insight here into these squads, our friend Ash is back with us.
What's up, brother? Guys, I'm kind of depressed about Royal being out. My fantasy roster is squandered.
Oh my gosh, mine is too.
Blew mine up.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Honestly, not to look behind, but you know, Royal running out the 2 decks there that he previously played, not going with a faster cycle deck. He's such a versatile player. Just bummed out that he's out, but you got to hand it to Ponos Esports. But where we are right now, Kingzone Dragon X is not out of this. They lost to Bren Esports, an amazing team in CRL Asia, in the finals, and they lost 2v2, just like they did here. But the Expo Master, Sin Woong, is an absolutely incredible, versatile, and very hard player to prepare for.
And I'm so glad that you just said that, because Rich was just talking earlier about the cushion. If they won the 2v2 set, it opened up the opportunity for Expo Master to play an even crazier off-meta deck, because he doesn't have to win the 1v1 set. He has to win it now. So what do you two think he comes out with?
I mean, the big question here is we saw him play a little bit for single lowest tower when he was playing in that round robin, and does he kind of go in that direction knowing he can control you the entire way? But again, he's up against a very, very versatile player here in St. Bellican.
And just to touch on that really quick, the single lowest tower is always in effect throughout all of World Finals.
Always active.
And it's interesting to see St. Bellican here in the 1v1. I mean, he is an amazing player. We don't see Soaking, which a lot of people thought would be the guy that they would run out Team Queso. By the way, shout out to all the people watching in EU right now. It's what, 5 or 6 in the morning. They have one of the most passionate fan bases. But St. Bellican is, if anybody can take down the Expo Master, I'm going to go with Belly. He is a really, really calm player, like we talked about earlier. He is really been preparing a lot, and you can see the double 3 Musketeer ban here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Expo basically banned the 3 Musketeer in every single one of his games in the seeding. Now, Rich, what do you think he's going to come out with?
I mean, I have no idea in this context, because he's been fast and loose. We saw that mirror hog deck that he played, and that was fantastic. But the question is, how risky can you go against St. Bellican?
Well, here's the weird thing, right? We saw Royal just bring out Golem, Lava Hound, beat down. Does Expo Master bring out the Expo? A deck that he doesn't play a ton, despite the name. He's a beast, though. The thing with Expo Master is he can play everything. Cycle, beat down, you name it. Unorthodox, off-meta decks. This guy is incredible, but he's very difficult to prepare for.
Absolutely, and St. Bellican, on the other hand of that, he's only played in 3 1v1 sets, and he's 5-3 in King of the Hill, so pressure being off for him is the situation he wants to be in. Rich, you were going to say?
Well, this season, Expo Master relied heavily on bridge spam, playing a lot of Battle Ram, and he also went pretty big on Miner as well, but the big thing about him with Miner is that you don't know what kind of Miner deck he's playing.
Yeah.
He has it in so many different constructions, so that might be a way here to kind of get around with St. Bellican is go, look, you might think you know how this deck's going to play out, but I'm going to have 1 or 2 cards you do not expect.
Absolutely, and that's the thing about Expo Master is he will play meta decks, but he will sub in cards that he is confident with. You see a lot of guards, you see a lot of Inferno Tower in decks that you don't necessarily see that in. You can play an old school Miner control deck with Inferno Tower and guards.
1v1, game 1.
And here we go, St. Bellican for Team Queso, top of your screen, and at the bottom, Expo Master for King Zone, Dragon X, and what will this guy have in store for us? We are so fascinated to see what he does in this situation.
I was just going to say, I don't think I've ever been more curious to see what someone is going to play, and he might be playing that Mortar Bait deck that he did some sheer dominance with at the seeding tournament. I believe it was Mikan Booya who matched up against him with the Lava Hound deck, and Expo Master just kind of took him to school.
Fast and loose early, too. The Goblin Gang right at the river.
Wow.
And here we go. Goblin Gang. Is this Royal Hog's bait?
And that is a lot of value that he just gave, and Expo Master recognizes a great log coming out there from St. Bellican and a huge positive elixir trade for him.
You know, I'm trying to look through Expo Master's deck pool here and didn't play a lot of... He played Royal Hogs 1 time this entire season, and it was certainly not in a Royal Hogs bait-like combination.
And Expo Master's deck pool does look like it's just a mistake, right? You're like, someone just wrote down 8 cards that they wanted, and they're just going to put them all in order. Really, really nice push there from the left-hand side of Expo, but a better cleanup by St. Bellican there.
So you go ahead and you see Expo Master playing on the ladder, and you look at you see what he's playing, you go, oh, that must be a troll deck.
Yes,
he just put it up there, and it turns out, no, this is actually what he's pushing with.
This deck composition coming out from St. Bellican is very interesting to me. I'll be 100% honest. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Royal Giant or not with that Barb Hut.
And here we go. So it's going to see like how he wants to synergize those two together. Will he always Royal Giant in the same lane as the Barb Hut for some support, or will he create opposite lane pressure?
Wow, and now you see with the log, with the Ice Whiz, with the E-Drag, with the Barb Hut, and the Fireball, Bellican has all of the answers for those Royal Hogs.
Yeah, not choosing to play one in this moment, just going soft with the guards. Maybe didn't have enough elixir in that moment. And that's a lot of damage there he just absorbed.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. The card might have been nerfed in the Royal Hogs, but if all 4 of those piggies get on the tower, they are going to do a ton of damage.
And now Barb Hut down again. Gotta wonder what kind of push he's setting up. And here we go. The Dark Goblin does pick it up with the log. So St. Bellican looking like he's getting ready to make a big move here on the right-hand side.
And I really like that Dark Goblin placement, Rich. It's really nice. Trying to get on that Barb Hut, making it so your opponent does not get spell value, or chip damage, I should say, on your tower. And a really nice Fireball coming down from Expo as well. St. Bellican here having a hard time breaking through.
And now we are in the final 30 seconds of regulation time, but the E-Dragon getting eaten alive by that Dark Goblin. Can this Royal Giant get on tower?
And look at the insanely fast cycle from Expo Master. It seems like he's always able to get that Dark Goblin back down. However, St. Bellican still cannot hit. I mean, he needs to defend like crazy right now.
Going to split those Royal Hogs here, and none of them will get to that tower. So great defense here from St. Bellican, and now a big push of his own coming down that right-hand lane.
And that Flying Machine staying alive is very, very frustrating. However, it does lock on that mini P.E.K.K.A. A really nice turn of events for Expo Master.
The Dark Goblin, though, could be the difference here. Fireball out. Dark Goblin doesn't sneak through. No. Picked up by the guards down to just 106.
One more Fireball is all that Expo Master needs. And with this insanely fast cycle deck, look at that. 2 cards, or 2 elixir, 2 elixir, 2 elixir. This is probably going to be Expo's game in game number 1.
The log gets down, and that's going to be it here. Fireball. There we go. Expo Master takes game number 1.
Yeah, very, very fast cycle deck. And honestly, that bit of BM, you wonder if it gets to St. Bellican's head at all.
That That was absolutely insane. Maybe the BM getting to say Pelican said, although I think he's too mentally strong for that. The reality here is that Expo Master did what we thought. He went non-traditional. He did things you didn't expect, and even with so many counters to Royal Hogs, the Royal Hogs ended up having so many things to support and make confusion.
And right here, this is the play you were talking about, Rich. He must have not had the elixir, or he must not have had cards in cycle that he needed. These Royal Hogs coming in and taking that tower down that low with a deck in Expo Master that has such a fast cycle, that was brutal.
And here we go, and this was the Royal Hogs. They don't get through here, but they do create a lot of elixir spent here for St. Pelican. You talk about the cascading effect of a